minimum that we said we would have. No, you're fine. Go over here.
Did you get it?
Okay.
No. Okay. Okay. Problem with Wi-Fi.
Oh, it is.
Oh, I'm on.
Oh, well, and you know, it's storm.
You are on? Are you on the public?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I will keep trying.
Yeah, I tried.
I just got on.
Did you
Okay.
get on? Sorry, Karen.
Oh, no,
There you
okay.
go.
All right, so good morning. It's nice to see you all back here today. I was telling everybody earlier I had a dream that I didn't come back today. I like woke up at home, like I went to bed and I woke up at home in my dream and I was like, what is happening? Did I tell anyone I wasn't going to be there? I don't remember. I guess I did. I don't know. It was about 10:30 in the morning that I woke up, which is not normal. So it was very interesting. An interesting dream. I was like, I guess they know I'm not going to be there. I don't know. That's weird. So anyway, so glad you're all here. Heather, glad to see you today. We have a couple new people on the committee, so I want to make sure everyone knows each other. So I don't know if you guys, the rest of us know everybody else in the room. So if the three of you want to exchange, so this is Heather, and then we have Carrie. And Carrie, I'm going to tell.
Hi, I teach culinary arts and baking at the Columbia Area Career Center. I'm part of Columbia Public Schools, and I'm representing the Career Tech Ed. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Hi Heather, I'm Stacey Shore. I am a parent of 3 kids, Lake of the Ozarks, and was appointed by Thompson's office.
I feel.
I'm Heather Drury. I'm a parent of 3, and I was appointed by the super.
Okay. Where do you live?
Sykeston.
All right, so I think we can just dive right in. We set our agenda yesterday, we're ready to go. So let's get to it. We said the first thing we wanted to do today was identify the strands that we would like to use. So
Can you give me like a little bit of a recap of what you guys did yesterday?
Sure. We reviewed, actually I have copies for you. I emailed you out, but I don't know if I do. A copy of one thing.
What do
You emailed the agenda for yesterday. Yeah, it's that. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So yesterday we reviewed our graduate outcomes that we had charted the last time we were together, and we reviewed them. We made some comments and some feedback. I think we agreed to move a couple things around and to clarify the wording on revision. I think is what we decided. Adding revision to the writing. And the top part of that graduate outcome.
Wait. You added revision to the writing of the part of the standards that you
No, to the graduate outcomes. We want to make sure that graduates can revise their writing.
Oh,
So,
gotcha.
yeah. So, and on the top part of those graduate outcomes, we've kind of lumped those under metacognitive skills. We agreed to kind of remove that from graduate outcomes because those are not ELA specific skills. They're more metacognitive things that we expect to teach. They would be implicit in whatever we develop, but that we would not be kind of using those as a checking point or litmus test for the standards we end up writing. So we're going to use them. We think maybe we'll put those in our guiding principles. Was kind of a thought yesterday. So we did that. We reviewed the work we did on the reviewing the Massachusetts, the South Carolina, and the Missouri Learning Standards last time on the 23rd. We reviewed that work. We then reviewed the Indiana Spring 2008 standards and charted that. So that's not been typed up yet, but it will be. And we also, now I'm starting to get a little fuzzy, help me out. So then we also...
voting procedures.
Oh, we did establish voting procedures. Those are posted over there. We also established kind of a sort of looking for norms for meetings. So we said we would have nine people had to be available to be present in the room in order to hold an actual meeting, an actual work session, but that others could call in. We established that we will set the agenda. I'll email the agenda out, and then we'll RSVP back to me to let me know if we'll be here or not.
Did we sometime
elect you as our chairman?
So that was done on Tuesday, the 23rd.
Okay, so you're the official chairman, or were you the interim, or how was that?
She's the official chairman. We did that on Tuesday afternoon. I believe it was the afternoon that day. Actually, I started as I was leaving for
Right. Right. Okay.
So, yeah, so I think we decided that, and that's, correct me if I'm wrong, that I would be the liaison?
Yes.
Okay. Am I right or wrong?
That's what we did. The election.
Okay. So,
I thought it was interim.
I'm sorry?
I thought it was just interim until the rest of the members appointed and then you decide, right?
Oh, okay.
Well, I was asking, because that's what the email said, that's why I was trying to clarify it. It was said you and Nick, I believe, were the interim chairman and co-chair?
Oh, okay. I don't remember. Okay.
I mean, sure, I'm just trying to catch up here.
Okay, well, let me finish what, and then we can go back into that if you want. Let me just, you asked me to recap, so I'll recap. So anyway, if you want to, we can change all those procedures later, but the idea was that we would have a contact point so that we would know, well, we actually have 9 people who are able to attend, and if not, we would reschedule. And so, as of yesterday, I was at point of contact, and I guess we'll see what happens today. We established that, and then we spent time discussing what we want as part of our standards and what we don't want. So we charted that. We spent some time thinking about what should they look like for teachers, for curriculum coordinators, and for parents. So we charted that information. And we spent time discussing and then voted to use the Missouri Learning Standards as our baseline document for new standards. And then we
You voted to do what?
to use the Missouri Learning Standards as our baseline document for.
And how can you vote to use the Missouri Learning Standards when we're here to develop new ones, and we can't, those are copyrighted, we can't use them?
We went into that quite a bit
We
yesterday.
did. We had a very long discussion about that.
We can use them. Yeah, they're
They are
They are
copyrighted.
copyrighted.
They are.
But the Missouri Learning Standards are in the public domain.
Yeah.
And if you'd like me to explain the legality of that, I will. All
Have
right,
a lawyer
real
explain that to
quickly.
me.
Yeah,
I'm-
right, I can do it.
I don't
Sure,
need,
sure, sure.
I don't need it.
Yeah, I need for you to
I'm very
explain
much aware of what they are.
It's not illegality. No, look,
The
here we
lawyer
go.
for
Okay.
the Senate came.
Okay, so I was recapping, so let me recap, because that's what you asked me.
They are copyrighted, I
Okay,
agree
so I'll do that.
wholeheartedly.
But I'm just asking why we're using that as a
Because we
starting.
voted to do
I'm
so.
talking. I'm talking.
You
Why
are
are
instructing.
I'm talking.
Talk, please.
Okay, continue.
I just want to know why we're using the Missouri Learning Standards as a base when HB 1490 was voted in to replace Common Core, because the people of Missouri voted to replace Common Core. Why are we using that as our base when, number one, I believe we discussed last week that they were given a B by Florida, and we found, what was it, Indiana and California and Massachusetts that were A's. Why are we choosing to use those to start when, if we follow the law, we're not supposed to do that? That's not what the law is intended.
The law does not say that, Heather. All right, here's what the law said, and let's go into
Yeah.
the legality, so we're all on the same page. Number one, that was not the intent of the final bill. That was the intent of the original bill as put out by Representative Barr. But in the Senate, again, Senator Sylvie proposed an amendment that specifically added language to the bill that prohibited our work groups and the State Board of Education from explicitly using the Common Core standards. That amendment was knocked down by a bipartisan overwhelming vote of 29-2. Republicans and Democrats, 29 of your senators said, no, we do not want that language in this bill.
Okay.
And the
Well,
final bill that was
why do
passed
we
does
have-
not have it.
Why do we have the bill HB 1490 in the first place?
So the
To
reason.
develop, evaluate, modify, and revise academic performance standards.
I think on HB 1490, I believe if you look on page 13, the charge to the work groups,
Is to establish, evaluate, modify, and revise the academic performance standards
that's
and
not.
learning standards. Okay, well, what
You
is
look-
it? Read it to me. Here,
if you look
this is the bill.
on
Tell
here,
us what we're doing.
this is the state board.
This is the bill that was
This is what it
passed.
says,
That
the
is the
state
law.
board. but if you look back here where it talks about the work groups, it says, the work groups shall develop and recommend academic performance standards to the State Board of Education. It doesn't say anything about revising. It doesn't say that we should, where did you see that? Revise, where were you looking at? Evaluate, modify, revise. That's not our charge. That's the State Board of Education's charge. Our charge over here to the work groups, it says the work groups shall develop. It doesn't say that we should use Common Core standards and revise, modify, evaluate.
Heather, we're using the standards to help us
That's
develop.
the baseline, that's the
That's
foundation.
it. They're not going to be the same.
Can I
It's
just say,
not-
when you go to the website for DESE and you click on the ELA PDF, it takes you right to the Common Core website.
Absolutely.
This document
Right.
that we were handed right here is not what's on the DESE site.
Well, we're not
It may
gonna
be
end
there
up
at
with
some
it, right?
point.
We're not going to end up with Common Core,
That's where
guys.
it goes.
But I don't
We're
understand why we're using
Right.
it.
And it's not
Well,
what we
again-
wanted, we're using
To
a
start.
copyrighted
Did you
blog
vote about this
document.
yesterday?
We did,
Then
but we
let's
had
vote
very
for it.
little conversation because you guys
had
did
little
all this.
conversation?
When you decided you were gonna vote, you voted, we tried to have conversation and reach a compromise of some sort, and just like Liz, allow us more time to look at it. The fact is, when you all decided what you were gonna do, there was no conversation, it was done. You knew what you wanted. You knew what you wanted, you knew what you were gonna do, period.
We can go back and look at the film.
Oh, I would love
think that
to.
we
We'll talk.
Let's do it.
talked. I
Absolutely.
mean, if you guys want to
45
delay things so that we don't get anything done today, and you want to
You
continue
know
to
what?
talk about it,
That's
then we
what-
can.
The thing is, here's the thing. As a parent, I can say this. That's the attitude that I get tired
Please don't
of.
point your
No,
finger at
we're
me.
teachers. That's what we get as
Oh.
parents. When we are shut out from the process and not allowed because you're so demeaning that we just don't understand and we can talk you through it. The fact is, they are copyrighted standards. They are flawed. We have an issue with that.
Stacey,
We
I
have an issue.
am not debating you. I think that you are a super intelligent person, and I think everybody in this group is. There is no doubt about that at all. Not at all. We had great conversation yesterday.
So when you all decided it was what you were gonna do, it was clear that that's what you were gonna do, and it didn't matter what anybody else thought.
We
There was no
voted.
compromise to be reached. There was no compromise to be reached.
Didn't we decide on voting procedures? I just want.
I don't understand why, when we have this bill, we all know why we have this bill, is if Common Core was what we were gonna do in Missouri, and that's what the public wanted in Missouri, was Common Core, we wouldn't be here right now.
Well, if that was
So
the-
I don't understand why, if that is such a point of disagreement in this committee, why we just don't agree to find something that everyone can agree on to start with. I don't think that is being unrealistic or being difficult. I think that as a group, this is such a topic of contention that we need to find a starting place that we can all come together, agree upon that everyone's comfortable, and then move about the
But
business
Heather,
of what we're supposed to
what we
do.
wanted to do yesterday was we wanted to have consultation with the K-5 group to see what their thoughts were and where they were moving before we made a hardline choice. And that was kind of a big thing for us, is that we truly collaborate and see where they were moving. Because if we start with something completely different than where they want to start, it makes no sense. I mean, it makes no sense. That was totally negated. So the issue that I have was that until we meet with our counterpart and know they're going to build to this point where we're at, it makes no sense to move on without knowing what they're thinking, and that was completely shut down and deemed irrelevant.
Our
Okay, so-
counterparts are 2.5 days behind.
Okay, so the whole purpose, I believe, of the bill is to allow educator and parent voice in the standards that are chosen or developed for Missouri. And that was not the case with the Common Core. And so that is why we are here. It is not stated in here that it is to replace the Common Core. It is for us as citizens of Missouri, educators, parents, to come together and say, this is what we want for our students.
Well-
And so the work that we have done, I feel really good about what we have done, because we have said, what do we really want for our students when they leave our institutions? And so we've mapped that out. We've looked at four sets of state standards. and we determine what we like and what we don't like about those things. And then what we decided was, by vote, and we've talked about the copyright. We've talked about what the discomfort is with the Missouri Learning Standards. But at the end of the day yesterday, there was a vote taken to use those as a baseline, not to use them, but to say, okay, so here's, because we know all states have reading and writing standards. So because of that, everyone's going to have something. So let's start with what, I think in this room, most folks are familiar with because they've been dealing with them so much for the last 2 or 3 years, are the Missouri Learning Standards. We go, what do we not like? What do we like? And then let's fill in from other states things that we do like.
Well,
and that
my
was,
point is if it's such an issue of contention, which it is, I'm not comfortable with it because I agree that this bill is to develop new standards, but I don't agree that the only reason that we have this bill is because people are uncomfortable with the way it came through. I think there's a lot of different reasons of why we have this bill. So I think that's everyone's individual opinion or whatever, that's what you're going to get.
but we're following what's in the bill, not what happened around the bill. You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
exactly, but
So-
in the bill, it doesn't say start with the Common Core.
But it doesn't say not to.
Exactly, it does not. So what I'm saying
And
is,
so we voted to.
but what
do
I'm
that.
saying is, if this is such an issue of contention, and it is, and it still is,
I think
why
it will continue no matter what
can't
do.
we, so let's put it to bed, and let's use something that we can all agree on and all feel comfortable, change the atmosphere of this meeting, and move forward. Because I don't think we're going to, if we start, I don't understand why we're so dead set on if we're going to change it. Look, why can't we just pull something else out that we all feel comfortable with? We know Common Core got a B, right? We know that they were not rated top A. That's not our argument. So why don't we find one that was rated A and use it if you like Common Core, if you like whatever, and then start pulling and adding from there. I don't understand why that's a huge deal.
Well, Heather, we did try yesterday. We tried to bring up Massachusetts, South Carolina, and Indiana 2008, but we were overruled by the rest of the group. I felt the same way as you do. I felt like Massachusetts for certain because of the high rating that they got, even though the 2013 standards that came out really were written prior to Common Core. Sandra Stopsky submitted those fully in draft form, even though they weren't passed, because the Massachusetts did the same thing Missouri did. Their governor came in, signed off on Common Core, and the people never got an opportunity to even see those outstanding standards. But they are outstanding standards. And in fact, some of those are in the Common Core. But that to me is irrelevant. I agree with you. I think the mood of our state, the parents of our state, the teachers of our state, do not want Common Core. They do not want any vestiges of Common Core. And to sit here and start developing a brand new set of standards off of something the people despise and don't want any part of is egregious to me.
Well,
it is
you know, as
irresponsible.
a parent, and I'm going to come in here as a parent representing the parents of Missouri and representing the children of Missouri, because that's what I feel like I am doing, I am not comfortable putting my name on something that we start with, that the parents in this state have overwhelmingly said that they don't want. I am not comfortable with that.
And that's okay. I understand your discomfort.
And so I don't understand why to just put this to bed, to squash this whole entire argument, disagreement, whatever you want to call it, why we don't just look at something else and start.
And here's I would say why. Because yesterday we agreed on a voting procedure, and we followed that, and that's where we arrived.
Okay, I understand the
Hold
voting
on.
procedure,
Let me finish. You asked to be heard. Let me be heard. So the reason I would say that is because if we were to take a step back now and say, well, that vote didn't really matter, let's look at it again, let's have another vote, then every time we try to make some progress, it'll be, well, we didn't like that, so let's take another look at it and let's go back and vote again. So we will never ever have forward progress. We will always just be spinning our wheels.
But this is the foundation. This is the starting point. We haven't moved past this apparently. Why not right now?
We're ready to move past it. I'm ready to move past it. I'm ready to start with the agenda we have identified for today and determine what our strands are for our standards.
But I'm saying, for the betterment of this entire group, to move forward in the months ahead, because we're going to be here for months, why not redo this really quickly and start with something new to make this process going forward more productive.
And I just told you why, because I think
But
it
that
sets a
doesn't even
precedent.
make, it doesn't make sense.
I think it does, yes, it absolutely does.
It does
sets a
make
precedent, it sets a precedent for how we
It's just a
continue to run
cop-out of
business.
continuing to move forward with what you all want to do.
I mean, you're welcome to
It's a
think that,
cop-out.
that's fine, that's fine. I think that at this point, we should move ahead with the agenda. We established that's what we were going to do when we came in here, and we move on. So if I
I mean, I think that by doing this, I don't know what the vote was, what was the vote?
9 to 5.
8 to 5.
5.
It was 8 to 5. Then what you're doing is you're saying basically that 5 people, when you're at a starting point, you're not willing to look at this again and negotiate and make it to where everyone in this room is comfortable and on the same page to even start your process.
I'm really more
I feel like
concerned.
you feel, because my issue is, and this is what I said, just so you know where I was as a parent also, what I said was when the data, which is test scores, and everybody, we've heard it all over, that the standards have been implemented for years, but when test scores statewide have dropped in all subjects, as documented by DESE, plummeted. The standards we are using are a flawed document. We need to start with something that actually suggests that we have a chance. If we're going to start at the place that is showing decline, I completely agree as a parent. It makes no sense.
Well, if you look at the states that have already are ahead of us, New York, I mean, what are they showing? 30% proficient, and they've been in this for 3 years. I don't understand why we want to start there to begin with.
So
why
we're
we
having
want
a-
to start with something that is already showing in the states that are ahead of us that they are failing. Why do we want to start there? Why do we want to, everyone, put your name on something that you're using that as a starting point? I mean, you all are, from what I can see, very smart, educated people.
So
I don't understand why you want to put your name on that.
Well, in my district, we're not having that results. We're actually having
Because we're just,
considerable
Missouri,
success.
this is our first year of full
Well, this
implementation
is
in
our
Missouri.
third year of full implementation in my district.
But not in the state of Missouri. And we haven't
Sure.
had our first SBAC test, which is the test linked
Sure.
to Common Core.
So
Look
how
at the
are we,
states
so
that
how are
have,
we using test data?
because New York,
Nobody's
Kentucky,
taken SBAC
Tennessee
yet.
that are already, that have taken it.
Nobody's taken SBAC yet.
So we're having the same conversations that we had yesterday. These are the
Three
same
states that are
same
ahead of
things.
us have failed.
Okay.
Why do we want to do that?
All right, we're going through the exact same conversations that we had yesterday, and everybody was heard. We went through all the standards, we went through Massachusetts, we went through Indiana, we went through all of this, and we evaluated everything based on our input. We had these exact same conversations. The committee made a decision. We are not going to use the Common Core verbatim. What we're trying to do is to use it as an organizing framework. We're trying to use it as an organizing structure or framework. Everybody will have input as to what the standards actually are. So what we're doing is we're just reiterating, or we're beating dead horses. Let's use our input from all the people at the table and develop a set of standards we can be proud of and that will work well for Missouri students.
Well, Janet, I wasn't here yesterday to give my
But
input.
we're sorry about that.
But,
We
and
have
I'm
heard
a
your
parent,
input, thank
and
you
I'm
for
a
giving
parent,
that.
and so I
Yes.
feel like, because I have 3 children that are gonna go through this.
Right.
I
And
have
everybody
3
here has children.
But your children aren't.
So what is it you object to?
Your children aren't gonna go
But
through
mine
this.
are,
What
and I'm a parent too, and I want to
grandchildren.
Well, okay, so here's the thing.
We're all parents.
This is not like we're dealing with an issue that this is the only thing we have to.
We looked
We
at other
don't.
standards.
We have other standards
We
that
looked
we
at them.
can use.
And we're going to use them.
And we
And
did.
so I don't understand why you want to put your name on something that's already been used and that is showing
How do you know?
that it is not good
How do you
and it
know?
is not getting good
All right,
results.
how do you know that we're gonna end up with the same product that we start with? How do you know that?
An email went out. I saw an
How do you
email.
know
I
that?
got an email. Somebody forwarded it to me because
How
it
do you
didn't
know
come
it?
directly from DESE, but somebody thought I ought to have it. So I got an email before this process ever started with DESE boasting that only 5% will change, maybe. that we're gonna keep Common Core, send it out to the superintendents and said, don't change a thing, keep going forward, because these work groups are gonna have little to no effect, maybe 5% will change, but likely not much. Well, that told me going into the meeting, as you can imagine, how outraged I was to think that I'm gonna spend time and money to come to a meeting that's already been determined, the outcome's already been determined.
How has it been determined? 3 of the people who voted yes were appointed by Republican
Clearly,
legislators.
Desi knew.
It's not about Republican data.
Clearly,
What is it
Desi
about?
knew.
Because you're the one
You're
who's saying
one
that
who less
Desi.
than 5%. Clearly, they knew.
You should not do that.
We have to start.
That is not okay for you to constantly go political.
Are here arguing.
You should have did anything, Dick.
The reason I said that is because my name is being slandered across social media as a Jesse lapdog, as a bully, as a lot of misinformation. And which is why I keep asking the question, what is it that you dislike about the standards specifically? What is it that you want to change? What
Why are
is it?
you so dead set that we use Common Core? Why?
Because they are an improvement from what we've been using in the past.
Okay.
Because our
But
teachers
we
have been
have,
using
there
them
are
for
other
years now.
things that are better than Common
So
Core.
why? What are they and why? We have not had this conversation.
Indiana, is it not rated better with Fordham than Common Core?
You rated it ourselves yesterday.
We'll be back.
No,
No, is it not
by
rated better?
by our own merits.
It's already a predetermined outcome. I don't even know why we're here. 5%, less than 5% is gonna change. That was decided before we ever darkened the door of this room.
That is not accurate. That is not accurate.
But you're following along with that by not starting with something else.
We are choosing
It
for
does not have to be an
ourselves,
issue.
independent-minded people, what we think is best.
It doesn't have to be an issue. It doesn't have to be an issue, but you're making it.
Okay.
Yesterday, we tried to put out 2 different alternatives that we could start from. Unfortunately, we're in the minority, and they were shot down, and it was brought right back to Common Core. So we made an attempt.
Okay, so,
We're going to the plenary meeting, but I just want to read this to go on record. We wish to go on record opposing the writing of the new standards using the current Missouri Learning Standards Common Core as the platform for developing Missouri ELA standards for 6 through 12. The Common Core state standards are copyrighted. Missouri does not own the Common Core standards. We believe the vote was rushed and there was not adequate discussion to make an informed decision. We formally request that this be added to the official record of today's meeting, please. It's signed by Jill Noble, myself, and Heather.
can I have that copy?
Yes,
I just picked this up, I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So is everyone going to the plenary session? Why are we, I thought we were all supposed to go to
Because
that.
political influences are supposed to come in and take over these meetings, right?
Yesterday
We've
I
told that
said-
ad nauseum.
How is that
Ad
a political
nauseum.
influence?
Well,
We're not talking about
Representative
politics.
Barr, right, who wrote the bill, is now saying, come listen to me tell you what to think about the bill.
So like I
Okay,
said
so
yesterday.
Representative Barr wrote the bill. He is the legislator that's in, the reason why you're here and everyone else, because he wrote the
Speaker's
bill.
the reason I'm here.
But if he hadn't sponsored the bill and it wasn't passed, you wouldn't be here.
Accurate.
So he wrote the bill. So why would we, being convened here because of him, why would we not all go hear him make some clarifications on this bill?
Because I can read for myself.
But obviously, you all were not on the same page as the bill.
No.
Because we're all interpreting
We are on
things
the
a little
same
bit
page.
different.
That would be up to the judicial. If we're not interpreting it correctly, the judicial will make that decision.
No, the
That's not for
legislator,
No,
he's the one that
no,
sponsored the
no.
bill.
The
He can't interpret
judiciary.
it. He can't interpret it.
Of course he can interpret the
Well,
bill.
he can
He's the
interpret
one
what
that
he wants to
sponsored the
interpret.
bill.
Legally, he cannot
Interpret the bill.
He can give you the intent of the bill, and
He
if
can
it
give
went
his
to a
intent
legal
of the bill.
process, he would actually be
This is
doing
the
that.
law.
This is
Yes,
the
and
law.
you're not following it.
That's your opinion,
Okay.
and you're entitled to it. But it would have to go to court before we would know for sure whether it's your opinion or our opinion or anybody else's opinion. That's correct. That would have to go to court.
Well, I want to say this. As a parent of 3 children in the state of Missouri, I am embarrassed and I am outraged at the way this is going. Because most of you in this room, you don't have children in the school system. Most of you do not. I'm not saying you do and you do.
That is not
A lot
true.
of you in here do not. And I want to say this as a parent who has 3 children who will be going through this. And I want to speak to all of the parents in the state of Missouri. you need to be concerned of what is happening here. When you have people, educators that get together, and you will not listen to parents, and you will not come to a compromise, when you have an issue that is causing this much contention, there is a problem.
Heather, let me ask you a question, okay? How is it not a compromise if we say we are going to develop these standards, okay? And we are going to pull influence from all of the things that we have, from every standard that has ever been written.
Okay?
We can use all of that information to develop our own. How is that not a compromise?
I think that's a compromise.
Then that's what
That's
we're
what
doing.
we have.
But your starting point of using Common Core is not a compromise.
Let me show you something. So, yesterday, I went through, these are the Massachusetts that y'all love so much.
No, I don't love, I'm not saying I love anything so much. I'm just saying I don't think that we should use Common Core because that is an issue here.
Okay, even though you have not, and let's make sure that that's on record, you have not shown us anywhere in the standards, specific standards that you do not care for. Am I correct?
What I'm showing you that I don't care for is this. What I'm saying is, I'm not going to pick apart the Common Core or the Missouri Learning
That's
Standards.
what our job is.
Hang on.
That's our job. We have to do that.
I am not right now picking apart the Missouri Learning Standards and saying, I don't like this. What I don't like is, the reason that we have HB 1490 is because the parents and the public of Missouri spoke and said they want to do away with Common Core.
And that's what we're doing. So I'm not
So
sure.
to use it as a base, as a starting point, to me and to the rest of Missouri and to the parents is not where we should be starting.
Well,
That's what I'm
not
saying.
sure. I'm not sure that we can group all parents together because I too am a parent.
I
And
think that the majority of parents are against it, or we wouldn't have this bill.
Based on what data?
Based on this right here, based on HB 1490. Because the parents spoke to their legislator to get this bill passed.
How many parents?
I don't know how many parents.
Well, you can't say majority.
How are we getting-
Well, it got passed, didn't it?
That doesn't necessarily speak to a majority of parents.
Well, I would say citizens of Missouri then.
Heather,
That's what I
we're going
recall.
to develop standards that are not.
Well, there's
for.
citizens that weren't for it, I know that. But I'm saying most of them had to be for it for the thing to get passed.
No, they didn't vote on the law.
Their legislators that were elected to represent them did.
Key, that's right.
Yes.
It was the legislators that created the bill and the law and
Yes.
that. But that doesn't mean the
And their
majority
vote
of citizens-
reflected the people that they represent.
They represent their constituents?
Yes. Isn't that the way we're set up?
You would think it would be that way.
Well, I don't think all of their constituents probably felt that way, but probably the majority if they voted for it.
I
The
agree.
ones that voted no, I guess their
Yeah, I
constituents
agree.
didn't.
I think a majority of Missouri citizens wanted groups of educators and parents to get together and actually talk about the merits and the shortcomings of the
No,
existing
the
standards.
majority of parents and citizens of Missouri wanted Common Core gone, because that was the first
Well,
intent,
that's not
the
what the
original
bill-
intent.
that's not the bill
But
that
through
was
the
about.
legislative process, that it got watered
Oh, you're
down,
staying
yes.
here?
Okay,
You're
but
going to
you
meet
can't
her.
argue that
Oh.
the bill that we have is not the bill that started.
I want to hear what.
But that's not the citizens of Missouri, that's your legislator. That's
Sure.
politics.
Sure.
That had nothing to do with what the citizens of
But we're
Missouri
not here
wanted.
based on the original bill, we're here based on the bill that was
Well, yes,
passed.
that's what got
With
passed.
bipartisan support,
Exactly. There was a lot of compromise made,
and that's what we're continuing to do.
but you're not compromising here.
We are.
It is
No, you're not.
compromising.
No, you're not.
Is there anyone that would like to go to the meeting?
This doesn't have to be an issue.
That I was going, so.
They'll be back. Elizabeth said she'll be back.
No, there's no.
Okay, and so by my count, okay, so let me see. There's only 8 of us?
We can't.
So we're not gonna be.
We can't vote, but we can continue the discussion. I mean, the discussion can go on, we just.
We don't
discuss
vote.
it. We cannot vote.
We can't really proceed with our agenda.
We can't.
We can't, we said 9 people.
No, we
said
have to
9.
go back again, just like all of everything so far was going back. Right. So that the people who are missing, so that there's no point. We need to.
Well, the 9 people have to be in the room, so I'm
Okay, so
thinking
we
if it's gonna be a while, I think, I don't plan to have conversation. I mean, I don't know if we need to keep the video on, but I really don't.
Probably.
have-
I think we
No,
need
okay.
to, I would leave
It's not
it.
a-
I would leave
This
it.
is not a case where we can reason
we're recessed.
No, I don't want us to have any conversation about it. I mean, like, and whatever, because they're gone. So, the video will remain on. I would say there's, the cafeteria is open, so feel free to get something to drink or eat, or, I have really no idea what's around here, coffee wise, if there's something within walking distance.
There's a cafeteria right downstairs.
So, feel free to
Should someone
do
just
that?
check the notes, just for clarification, so I get that repeated, could we check on what the actual phrasing was about the, okay, thank you.
Give me just a
about
minute.
the
Let me get
liaison.
this.
Yes, we can at least establish that, I think.
Okay, so,
Okay, and probably.
does anyone have any idea how long that was supposed to be?
It says 30 minutes. but
30 minutes?
who knows?
Okay, so let's be back here at 9, it starts at 9. Well, let's just, 9:30, let's just check in
Does
and.
anybody know if there are
39:40.
cute little cafes?
There's a coffee
cafeteria.
shop. I think there's a coffee shop up on High Street, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
I would walk there if anyone else wants to go.
Let's check.
What time did you agree to convene?
I don't think anyone will be back at 9:30. Do you want to just say
And we're going to
9, you guys want to say 9:45? That way it gives everyone a chance to get back. Because I'm sure they won't be back at 9:30 or over 9:30.
Maradella, you wanted the language of the vote yesterday?
No, the language of the vote, Tuesday, whatever, with September 22, at the end, when we
23.
made the decision about
Okay.
the liaison, if it was interim, just want a confirmation, I don't remember.
It was.
Okay.
I'll find the language, I guess
Okay.
it was.
All right, well, that's,
Okay,
that's,
thank
we
you.
needed to know. Yeah.
All right.
You guys coming to coffee?
Yes.
I may get some downstairs, I'm gonna, do a little work here. Although I probably do need to,
So Carrie, do you want the camera to remain on?
I think it probably should.
Okay.
Just leave it. I don't want to be. Just leave it. Just going to be a lot of nothing for a while.
Yeah, right.
People who watch it will be like, what?
This is what I have. Sorry, I gotta find it exactly, because I transcribed these things.
Oh, Maradella, I forgot to bring you that article about AP history. Dang it.
Oh, I would like to see it.
I
at some
promise
point.
I
Okay,
will.
well, that's okay, I mean, are you kidding? Get stuff all the time. But I would be interested, but I
Well, I
told you
think I
how
showed
that
it to
guy
you,
that's
but
the AP
It's
history.
the AP history.
Yeah, and he's a consultant that I often, I mean, when we do work like at the University of Iowa, he and I are both always there in the summer, and so sometimes we lunch or something. He was telling me about the new test, and it's very, that's what I meant when I said all of these tests are aligned to the same basic ACT, AP, SAT, the whole gamut. And so, anyway, it's interesting because more and more you see the whole thing about, can you make a claim that you can support logically with relevant evidence?
So,
And so that test is moving
so in the
more and more in
past, has that
direction.
test not had any essays or anything on it, the history part?
Oh, no, it's largely document-based, responding to U.S.
Primary
documents.
sources?
Right, primary sources. But what they've added is constructive response items over shorter tags.
Oh, okay.
To replace multiple choice.
So that they're actually
students are
showing
having
some
to
of their thinking.
synthesize
So
and
why,
generate.
so what's the debate over that?
There's none. That's what I'm
Oh.
saying, it's all totally aligned, all that stuff is aligned, yeah.
And it's just going.
Yeah, it's just
happening.
going.
Yeah, you're at the university too, aren't you, or your husband?
UMKC, I'm the high school college English coordinator person. For like there are 28 high schools in the Kansas City area that have the dual credit through UMKC, and I'm the coordinator person.
I thought you were.
And
But your
our-
husband's with the university too, isn't he?
he's with, he got his PhD at the university. He's he teaches at the community college.
Okay.
You just wear a dozen different hats, don't you?
Maradella, here's what the notes actually say.
Uh-huh.
Though there aren't enough members present here to constitute a quorum, and I could go back and look, but remember the discussion then had been a quorum being 2/3
Right.
of, and there was a lot of discussion about whether that
About
was
that.
17 or those appointed or those present. And I don't know that the group ever truly landed on that. But this is what the notes say. The group decides to choose an interim liaison and co-liaison. Well, I'm looking for the names, but group decided to email Nick Kremer or Katie Skeeters, unable to attend future meetings. And so that's how that happened. It does say interim, that was the
Okay.
decision that was made.
Thank you.
We'll have to revisit that.
Yeah. I am absolutely fine with that.
I'm pretty sure you are.
What are you reading? Rear Delacorte. I have to have a picture of this, actually.
He has some really interesting points.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. I just never thought for 1 trillion years I would see Evan Mandela later.
I'll leave this up here, is that okay? Yeah, I put it up here so it didn't fall out too. Okay, I'm gonna put it back here. Let's go use this camera.
Lynn and I.
Let's put this right in there, and then we put it in the folder. Is that what you want us to do, Karen?
Yeah,
I'll take a picture.
Yeah, that'd be great, thanks. That'll go right into the notes then, right? Or
It
that'll go part of
can be,
the.
I'm gonna type it into the notes, but I also
Okay.
will have a picture.
Okay.
And so at the end of the day, I'll send you the pictures that I have of everything.
Okay.
that we have.
You were so stuffy, it's so stuffy in here.
Uh-huh.
Would it be helpful for us, like, have the thing?
Well, right
It's
now.
just really hot in here.
It's the door open for us.
I know.
You know, the
It seems
fan's
it's hot
been here
in
the
the
whole time and
afternoon.
then not one person has stopped to plug it in.
That is interesting. It's been standing there. Because I got hot yesterday.
Because yesterday we were all like,
Yeah.
but you know, we'll turn it on when we need
I was
to.
gonna say, it's here, and I think it actually functions, I don't know. If not, let me know, I was
Okay.
expecting to grab something else up.
No problem. Thanks.
So find this.
And I brought you lunch tickets, so.
Thank you.
Should be lunch.
Carrie, you can answer all your emails. How many did you have yesterday?
Oh, I don't even really know.
I have a friend who makes fun of me because she'll look at my phone and my notices and emails will be up to like 3-digit numbers.
Mine's, yeah, that's where mine is. That's not fair. Like I have 100 emails in my like work inbox right now. But then I also on my phone, my personal emails also on there, you know. So, and so yeah, so that's like but still I have like right now I think I have like 100. But like you know, some of them are like okay, that's not an emergency, that's not an emergency, you know. So.
But I like to read them so that the number decreases, but then I have to put them somewhere to do something with later.
Yeah, well, and my work email and my phone don't talk well. Like they come to my phone, but they like on my computer, I can like in the client or whatever, I can move them into folders that I've established.
What is your work email? Is it a Gmail?
It's group wise. We're trying.
Is that Nabel?
Yeah, I'm trying to move us. We're like, when can we do Gmail? When can we do Gmail? But that's what we're doing right now. I don't know if we'll ever change. We have like, you know, we're a Google district and all of our kids use it.
But you don't use it.
But we're not using Gmail. Am I supposed to accept something to get online? Or
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to accept.
Oh no, it looks like I'm.
It may look like it, and then it will not open a window.
Well, it pulled open my.
How do you? Yeah, I'm
trying to navigate.
I'm on my laptop too.
Well,
it
what I
pulled
had
up Missouri.gov.
Yeah.
But it didn't give me the option to accept anything.
Well, did you close your browser windows?
Yeah, I restarted the computer.
And then you have to open
Oh,
it.
it automatically has. So now you should be able
I'm
to
good.
navigate.
Yeah. Okay.
Try
I was like, I feel like I should have to accept something, but I don't see anything.
No, now it should.
Okay.
It may have been like you hit something and it automatically went or something. That's sure slow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I didn't do anything.
Like I usually just like
that works.
MSN or something to make sure it'll go and then.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go downstairs and get some coffee or something. Does anybody want anything?
I'll go down with you, because I
Okay.
have some tea maybe.
I have to listen to it.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm not a coffee drinker, but cappuccino or something.
Something.
Do they have that down there?
Huh?
Do they have that down there?
If they do,
Like
it's
the
probably
coffee?
the chocolatey, sugary kind, which I don't like. I like Quick Trips.
I was just thinking I would really like for this time of year, Starbucks has salted caramel
I
mochas.
love salted caramel, anything.
Those are like
the one I like best,
those.
Caribou, which is in Hy-Vee's in our area.
It is in our, well, yeah, we're.
They used to have, 2 years ago, so I haven't been in, maybe it'll be back. They had what they call the salted caramel budini. So it's really easy on the coffee side, which I like a little, but not a lot.
The regular coffee, because I'll get I'll go.
I
with
don't
that
drink
Caribou.
regular coffee.
Okay,
I
well,
love the
I get the
smell.
light one, and it's just like the light one in Starbucks, it's still too strong.
I always have to say whenever I order something,
Scooters.
easy on the coffee, I don't want.
Oh, really?
You know what, I
Okay.
get Scooters, I love Scooters.
Are they like little
Scooters?
like standalone kiosk things?
No,
Oh, no.
it's, there's one in the plaza that's right by Banana Republic and
Oh, really?
Schmidt. It's right underneath.
I may have to try this
There's one in Blue Springs, one in Independence.
Because I don't like heavy coffee taste.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
Okay.
But what is the H?
Waiting for it to open the email, and then I click reply, and I have to wait for it to open the reply window.
Don't we
Come on!
get impatient?
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, I just didn't want to reply.
And it really doesn't take all that
It
long. But we
doesn't,
get
but oh my gosh. Well, it's just like, that there are 40 more that you probably want to try to get to. That's probably the problem. I just need to be patient.
How many years are you into your one? I'll go ahead and do your email.
No, you're fine. I'm okay.
How many years are you into your one-on-one initiative?
This is our third year.
Where are you 1-to-1?
In our high schools.
You're all.
9-12. We have. Thank you. We have. We started out with netbooks, and we gave netbooks to
I thought it was
freshmen.
Was it freshmen?
Something. We gave it to freshmen. Yeah, we did, because it upset the upperclassmen. We wanted it just to roll with them.
Right,
so something like that. And then we were gonna do a year at a time, but then it was parents were impatient, which was a good thing. That night, that pressure was nice to get from parents. I want my kid to have a device. Because at first, it's oh, what's that going to look like and how's that going to go? And then, you have a 2-child household where there's one of my kids has a device and one of my kids doesn't have a device, and it just is kind of weird. So, well, yeah. So we were able to move to Chromebooks. They're cheaper and they're more durable. And then we're at Google now. So you know, so that was awesome. That was really good. So now there's one class that doesn't have Chromebooks because it was. I think it might have been seniors and then it rolled to freshmen or something. Anyway, so we have sophomores who don't have Chromebooks. They have notebooks because they were like the last. But those will move out and we'll move more Chromebooks in. So that's how that's gonna go. Hi.
Oh. I did spend a little bit of time like cyber stalking. It's kind of fun. It's fun just to sit and listen. Not cyber. I don't mean cyber. I'm just like kind of doing the walk down.
Try drifting around.
Right, just drifting.
What was I gonna ask you?
Oh,
are any of do you have your textbooks online? Or any electronic textbooks?
We have, yeah, so where we've purchased like actual books, we'll have an online, like we'll have the e-version of it for most of them. For ELA at high school, well K-8, I did classroom libraries. And then we agreed, and it's been a really tough move, but we agreed that we didn't want a textbook 9 through 12. Our committee agreed to that. Okay, so let's talk about that one. So our committee agreed because they don't value what's in it. They knew, like they didn't value the old one we had, which is the Elements of Literature, which is what everybody has. They didn't value that, and then figured that, like, for what we're trying to do, which is at 9 and 10 encourage more independent reading and self-selected books, that would not promote that. So we went to, and it's not been pain-free. So we said, because every kid has a device, so they are like finding the text online and then giving students links to find the text. And we still have our novels that our whole class, and I told them, keep the textbook because it does have text in it
good literature
that you want, and it has Romeo and Juliet in it, and it has, so they did, and I got a pretty good amount of pushback on that originally, like when the school year was starting, and it was like, what am I supposed to use? And I was like, you can just use anything, and then we had concerns about copyright, like if I find a copy of a poem online, but it's copyrighted, and someone's violated that copyright, but I don't really know because I just found it and I use it, what happens to me? And so we made sure that like nothing happens to you because you are not the original violator of the copyright. You're just linking to that. So we went through some of that. That was kind of a growing pain. I tried to create like a Google sheet where everyone could, like, as they found an online text that most people would want to use or that would be interesting, they could drop it in there and say, I use this text online at this link for this unit. That's kind of like I was really hoping I'd have more time to manage that, but I really have not. So, but when we got together to write pre-AP classes, because we wrote English 1 and 2 one year, and then we wrote pre-AP the next year, I told the teachers I would buy them a book because it's a little different at that level, I said, I'll buy you something, and I actually found that one of those like AP-ish companies, and I can't remember which one it is. It's not Cengage, but it's a different one. It might be. I think it might be them. They have like an online build your own book. Yeah, and you can just pick your PDFs and then put them in there. Okay, so I take this to my teacher saying this is going to be awesome and they have like a bookshelf that you can and put all your stuff on it. So I thought this would be great. So I took it to them. I'm like, so here it is. And like, well, again, I said, here's all the text. I showed them on a smartboard. Here's all the text you can choose from. And they're like, why would we do that? And I was like, well, because I thought we'd buy a book. They're like, start looking those up. Can we find them all online? So we started Googling a few of them. We could find links to them. They're like, don't buy us that book. I was like, wow, who would have thought? Wow, that was amazing. So that's where we landed. So like we've grown a little bit, It's not perfect and it doesn't always work, and we spent a lot of time talking about the downfalls of technology, and you know, my take on it is just that it's the same problem, different format, right? Like when the mimeograph machine wouldn't work,
Right.
was out of ink, or when the copy machine breaks down, or it's just the same kind of problem we have to have with copy. It has that kind of thing. So they didn't like that so much. They're looking like, but like when the internet goes down, yeah, I know it's kind of like the copy machine going down, you know, but maybe the copy machine will be up when the internet goes down. You can run a copy of something. I don't know, you know. And we didn't take all the elements of literature books out so that they could. Although my middle school teachers, I let them keep them too, and they're like, please get these out of here.
They want this bookshelf space.
Because they, yeah. So I was like, I don't care. I don't, you know, I don't need them. So it's been an interesting ride. But I know math just adopted and they have online books. And we adopted social studies before we were one-to-one. And we had we got online access for those too. We were trying to go the route of classroom sites only, and then one child online.
Aren't they precious?
I don't know.
Does your wife have naturally curly hair?
She does.
And your little girl got it.
Hers got it crazy, yeah.
Oh, they are adorable. Aren't they wonderful?
That's hard to know.
You know, my son is 17. He's going to graduate. He'll be 18 in February. And I watch him like I'll be early today. He has a football game.
Right.
Yeah, it's becoming less
understands how much I love
him.
You know, I think a lot of my former students are
really what I need to know.
And they're having babies and such.
So
when you become a parent for the first time, and it's this, gosh, I didn't know that I could love somebody this much. I look at my 17-year-old,
and
who's on the cusp of
I'll do that or I'll go
well, he really is this young man.
Right.
And I think, I didn't know I loved somebody this much. And I've had two go before him. Maybe it's because he's my last one. I'm having this realization that, you know, he's a young adult and yet I love him so much. And I love the person he's become. And I don't know if he knows that. But anyway, no, they have the sappy, sweet, crappy cappuccino is what it is. It'd be full of chocolate and sugar. Not what I like.
Not what you want.
No. Are you good with giving this to Dana for the file now, or do you need to see it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No,
I typed it in
I can
there,
see
I
it.
took a picture of it, but will you put it in their file?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
I saw it when she was there.
Okay. Go get breakfast.
I did, and now I can work on right to learn presentations. Submission.
What's that?
I like the way they do it in that you can kind of.
I figured before
formulate your
back
idea.
home.
What's the theme this year?
Something sparking student success,
That's it,
something like
sparking,
that.
that's it.
Yes. What I typically do is I put my hooks into some young teacher and say, hey, let's do a presentation, let's co-present, and then kind of pull them along, and then somebody else gets. So I started conversations with two different ones, so I guess I have two proposals to make. And actually, a couple colleagues and I are going to do a pre-conference at METS this year. I was just floored that we got accepted.
At METS.
In St. Louis, the technology conference.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool.
It's a very good local statewide. You're also in Illinois and such, but I mean, honestly, for being local, it rivals ISTE.
Oh, yeah.
It's ISTE on a bit smaller scale, and it's really good.
Yeah.
And I haven't been to Mornet for years, but I hear, whoa, I just spit my food. That was my tape. I hear that it has kind of fizzled in some ways. And I actually looked at the program for it this year. Our primary, K3, are doing the Teach Like a Pirate book study.
He's going to be there.
He's going to be there.
I saw that.
So that was one reason, but I looked at maybe going, but it doesn't look like a very strong conference.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it. I just
Mornet.
Where is it?
Columbia?
I think so. I've never gone to it. I just know that Dave Burgess is going to be there as their keynote or whatever. So I think that's doing some good for them. But I wasn't sure. I don't know much about Mornet. I was under the impression Mornet was more geared toward like your tech.
The actual tech side.
Yeah, and
but there are some sessions that are geared toward teachers or geared toward like the technical coach support side. But there's just not enough really for me to warrant going.
as opposed to Mets
Yeah.
has stuff for the tech side, like our techies will go, the classroom teacher, as well as
and
like the coach.
administrators and
Yes,
coaches.
exactly.
And, yeah, it's really nice. I really like it. I think we submitted a proposal for that. I'm hoping that our MOEC chat group did. So
A proposal for Mets?
So I'm hoping that we'll be accepted.
Well, I kind of on a whim contacted again, this first year teacher and I did one last year at Right to Learn, which was digital tools in the writing process, which went over really, really
I
well.
bet, yeah.
And I said, really, we ought to tweak that and take it, do a a Mets proposal. And we could have used more time at Right to Learn. And so I said, let's just try for a pre-conference session and see. And she's in my previous district, and she said, well, I've been doing a lot of work this year with Stephanie, who's the social studies teacher too, with integrating reading and writing tools. And she said, let's see if we can do kind of an interdisciplinary. We wrote that thing, submitted like Right to Learn on the day that it's due, and got chosen. So
you have a pre-con.
Yeah. First time I've ever done anything on that
That's
scale. But this little girl, she's got me.
Awesome. I did a pre-conference last year with my tech coach. We did a paperless administrator.
Oh, really?
Pre-conference. So, yeah. So that was really fun. We tried it out in our district and it went well. And
do you feel like your administrators, are they Google savvy?
Not all of them.
See, I have some who.
Some of them are really good.
I have some who don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Couldn't even use it like a Google Doc.
Right. And
because
so,
where do I save it?
Yeah, so that's what we kind of did that for our guys. We knew we wanted to do something for, like, we thought we wanted to do something at METC, but we weren't sure. So we were going to submit, well, actually, we did. We submitted our proposal for the pre-conference. We got accepted, and then we didn't pick them. We tried it out on them to see how it would go and what we would need to tweak for our pre-conference.
Does your side of the state have an ed camp?
Yeah. That's in February. It's right before.
Oh.
Right
See,
before
ours
METC
is in
conference.
November, but it filled up in like April. It was already full.
Yeah, so ours, has, right before, so we had like last year, there were several people who went to ed camp on Saturday, and then were at,
Went to Mets.
It was awesome. Yeah, it was really neat to see everybody like that, It's kind of cool. All right.
I'm gonna like to do that. I could find that ed camp, but I don't know if they have the day before again.
It's like the Saturday before, it's February 7th, and registration just opened. I can probably find.
Is it like Ed Camp St. Louis?
It is, yep. I don't know where it's going to be. I haven't looked at it yet to see.
It's in Cape, and it's changed to Cape.
I didn't realize that.
Yes, it's in Cape, it's changed to Cape. And it's a national accreditation. All right, that was just decided this week that she called and told us.
That's really good. Very.
Because that tells us what we have.
Yes, it does.
Want to know what I do? Well, oddly enough, I'm by training a linguist, and I still work linguistics on the how people mean things and make meaning. And I only got into the game of learning last year, so I was helping my 6-year-old. And in 1 year, when the boy told me English, I went off on the arbitrarily, I don't understand, and was really just blown away how hard it was. But after I played a number of hours poorly, I really was fascinated by this cultural phenomenon where people are all the time doing things that has to be successful. And when I find this going on,
Oh, no. This is work I'm doing in my district.
we have almost perfectly incredible so there are kids that think I can't buy any adult.
Oh, I wanted to one of the actual teachers who's already done what I did.
So
Well, and it needs to be done with 2 or 3 teachers representing each of 6 grade levels, and there's no time to do that. Exactly. I mean, not only is there's no time in the time frame that we have to get this work done, but there's no time to meet without getting a sub or something. And they don't want to do that, and I understand that. But then when I send an email trying to address that, I know that it was overwhelming.
And you get a lot of questions that would be easier to get face to face.
Well, and things that you don't get to hear the tone. And I fear they will misinterpret my message. I saved it last night as a draft and went back this morning with that even because I knew I needed to be very, very careful what you said.
Yeah.
What are you working on now, Nina?
I am doing a workshop tomorrow with full organization in St. Louis. Trying to connect history on and using using photographs and multiple points of view to tell the story of Ruby Bridges.
Oh, that's fun.
I've learned so much. It's called Arches.
Okay.
But I did not realize this. John Steinbeck wrote about Ruby Bridges going to school and travels with Charlie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
That came out about 62. And I think the drawing of her, the drawing was
Yes.
60.
It was much later. But it was really interesting that he was traveling around for Steinbeck. And he heard about it, so he had Charlie in his truck, but he was afraid that he might get in trouble, so he parked the truck in a grocery store parking lot, left the dog in there, yes, and took a cab to witness this. It's just really amazing.
I heard her speak in NCTU. Did you? In 2000. She was really, really
Where'd
good.
you find the coffee? Oh, we went up to Johnny's Coffee Zone.
They have nice flavored
It's up on
coffees and
Main.
stuff.
It's not far. It's like
They
have pumpkin, spice,
everything.
Salted caramel.
Yes, they have lots of little specialty
Oh.
drinks.
We should take along.
I wanted the banana nuts, but I chose.
What'd you get?
I just got a latte.
Banana nut.
Nancy, what'd you get?
Interesting.
I got tea.
Oh.
I'm at my coffee limit for today. I had coffee before I left the house.
I wanted tea downstairs, but all they had was a huge cup, so I just.
Oh, I'm sorry, I should have gotten this.
Well, you didn't know
I would have taken
I didn't
salted
know.
caramel.
No,
Oh
I'm
my
just saying,
God.
I
Maybe
get
so.
what you have in the house.
Salted.
It doesn't happen to get.
That's my favorite Starbucks. So I like the pumpkin.
So what flavor did you get?
Just straight up plain.
Oh.
I know.
So what is this coffee? What is that one? Or what
It's
is it?
coffee Johnny's. Well, I'd already had about a half of another one, or I would have gone with like the Rocket Fuel, which is good stuff. That's the name of it. I'm not sure I probably needed that, but
It used to be Chez Monet.
and now it's the Coffee Zone, which is a place out of Columbia. Osama's Coffee Zone, I think, is.
Straight up to High Street, turn left, it's in that first block there.
Was it nice and brisk outside?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's like,
Yeah, but about the time the football game kicks off, now it's supposed to be like 43 degrees. I think.
I wish I could go to Weston tomorrow.
Mine is like,
We've
Bounce is
got a-
supposed to rain when we're going this afternoon.
I don't think so at home.
As long as I don't forget right.
That's just not happening.
Weston.
Yeah. I was down there last weekend, and they had an organ grinders festival. There were all kinds of organ grinders up and down the streets. It was packed. It was beautiful.
I was at
Weston.
Fresh apple cider and.
I can sit at Turtles for probably 10 hours. I can't walk when I stand up after I sat there drinking Turtles wine for 10 hours, but I sit there for
Where is that?
Weston, Missouri.
north of Kansas City, just a little bit over,
Yeah.
near the
A little bit north of
Kansas
the airport.
border. Yeah,
Yeah, it's lovely.
very easy to get to over a lot of
Great
places.
little shops. They have a McCormick distillery.
My daughter works at McCormick's.
So these are the.
Quite lovely.
And actually, there are several wineries. If you wanted to do a winery day, I mean, not just in Weston, but there's one on 59 north of Weston. When they had my daughter's bachelorette party, we started in the afternoon and went to a couple of wineries.
And then we would get, but we don't need.
Of course, I hardly ever drink, so I was the designated driver.
There you go.
And then that way.
Last night, by the time I got to my hotel, it was late, it was raining, I was frustrated. They were having some kind of conference or convention, which took all the parking instead of for those of us who paid for rooms.
That makes sense.
So by the time my husband called as I was getting everything out of the car. Weren't you gonna call? I said, I just got done working. So I was grouchy. So at the desk, I told them my frustration with parking, because the last time I drove around for 10 minutes, there was no parking spot when I came back. So
I would
anyway,
imagine this will take your home so hard.
I go up to my room and I decide that I will, I'm just gonna order room service. Really, I just wanna take off my clothes, order room service, I got work to do. There's no little booklet that tells you about room service, the amenities and all.
You do, don't you?
So I called the desk, very frustrated. I said I'd like to order room service. Oh, okay. I don't have any information about it. You don't have any information? I'm ready to. So she put her back to the door. Would you like a complimentary drink? I said, no,
You should say, yes, double.
After she left, I thought, they're not going to let me use that.
So I come here and stay as long as I can before I like crazy.
Well, actually, I think Kim read my mind yesterday. I was like, oh, I had actually meant to try to stop and bring some chocolate. I should have done that. Get some chocolate and bring it, but I forgot, and by the time I got on the road, it was too late. And so,
Thank you.
I was thinking, you know, I would try to bring chocolate to my meetings with my teachers, you know, because it sure
happy.
Sure helps. Well,
Coffee and sugar.
and you know, I had a meeting with some high school ELA teachers, you know, maybe last year or something, maybe it was even the year before, and I knew it was going to be a little contentious because I knew we were going to be talking about some things that were going to carry some debate, and so I thought, I'll bring chocolate, and I brought like pastries in the morning and stuff, because I was like, food makes everyone feel better. So now every time she's with me,
right?
oh, your cord?
No.
Missing?
No, there's just people that left.
No materials are left. Are they?
Oh, I don't know. Anyway, so,
Big beds.
Okay.
so every time I get together with this group,
Did you
well,
find
with
your
this
cord
teacher, and
there?
she's like, where's the chocolate?
Yeah.
Where's the chocolate? I was like, seriously? Every time. Now she brings like the healthiest lunch ever. They will all go out to lunch. She will not go out to lunch. She'll stay behind the bigger for her healthy lunch. She always wants to know where the chocolate is. Always. It's so funny.
Probably because she won't buy it for herself.
No, give that to Mary Della, please, and just don't put any of my meetings. I will eat 19. Thank you.
Fine.
I appreciate it.
It's not my candy, so I don't take it personally.
I have no self-discipline when it comes to chocolate.
Oh.
And then I'll get all wired and crazy.
I'd like to see that.
Well, that could be entertaining. Nancy?
It's a fun experiment.
Okay, she also brought, what else did she bring? Who brought this? Kim brought this. She said she found a Walgreens. Yeah, I was like, I didn't even.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll have it next time. Well, maybe I won't. We'll see. Well, these are like, these are mine. My weakness.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, reading a little.
Huh? Okay.
Well, you want to have a choice.
All is a choice.
I'm one of those who finds no chocolate that's not good.
Part of my reach over you to throw that through the table. Like I said, Shirley went to England one year. My stepmother-in-law, she was in England, and they brought back Cadbury flakes. And they are. Have you seen those before? They're just chocolate like sticks, but from there. Oh my, they were delicious. And she used to bring them back by like the box full. And when my husband was younger, he and his brother would eat them all. And she had to figure out a way to hide them or whatever. But she brought them back, I guess maybe, they haven't done that in a long time, but I'm trying to think, it was maybe before we were even married, so it's been a long time. But they were, I was like, I can understand why they are scarfing them down because they are delicious. They're just a stick of chocolate. Like it's like a, or you know, but they're kind of flaky. And Cadbury makes them, but you know, and she's so funny. She's like, well, you know, Cadbury makes them. Cadbury's here, but they do not taste the same. And I think she is right.
In the tube stations in London, they have machines that sell Cadbury chocolate.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, so fresh chocolate from Hershey's with my girls. The grandmother was close to Hershey's, Pennsylvania, and they always go to Hershey, and they'll bring back, but it's so much fresher. I can get some more candy.
I'm gonna throw these away. If there's anything left, which, sorry, I was trying to move out of your way. I moved into your way. If there's anything left, we'll just put it in that little bag over there.
I need to say take that.
Did you hear anything else from Jeanette?
No, I hope she's okay. She texted me like, well, I guess I didn't look.
She said she did.
She texted me, like, I don't know, like, quarter after 7, 20 something, I could look, and said, I will be about 10 minutes late. And that's all it says. And I said, that's fine. Can you please tell me who this is? Because I don't know.
Because she stays here, right? She doesn't travel back and forth.
Well, I wasn't sure.
She stays here.
Okay,
In fact,
so.
she came the night before, so this was her second time.
Oh, so I hope she's all right.
Way down in
West Plains.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, that's right. I can't keep working.
Yeah, it makes me concerned about whether she's sick or something. That's fine.
Yeah, well, I think she might have had plans to go to that meeting, though, so she might be there. If she doesn't come back from the meeting, then we'll check on her, make sure she's all right.
Because she said they went to the tornadoes hotel.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
she
that's
did say that.
right.
Yeah.
She
She
said she was at the
Really?
Doubletree.
Yeah.
The Doubletree.
The night before?
Interesting.
Night before last.
Makes me wonder if she's not there.
I know that's what I was wondering. It's just 10 minutes late. Maybe she feel better. The meeting is still going.
Are we meeting with elementary today?
I reached out, but it was kind of late. I haven't heard anything, and I emailed her and said that we'd like to meet. I indicated that I thought it'd be nice to meet around 11. So I thought it would be nice to have like that and then go into lunch rather than have it break up our whole. But and I said to her, you know, you can email me back, but since I said since we started at 8, you might be better to text me. But I haven't heard from her, so.
I think that it is my understanding, and I will make sure this right, that when we meet with the younger group, we are not going to vote on anything together.
Are you comfortable with me putting these things in the minutes since you've adjourned or not?
Oh, we should probably shut up.
You are on tape.
We're recessed.
Well, but we probably should not continue to talk about these things whenever this is not correct.
Can I put in the notes, Carrie, that you contacted the K?
Oh, yeah, you can do that.
And have not heard a response?
Right, that's fine. I mean, I assumed that it was late enough that she might not get it, and then I would have to try to figure out how to get in touch with her.
Carrie, also, I think it's my understanding that I'm supposed to notify you if I will not be present at the meeting.
Right.
I do need to leave about 10:45 or 10 to 11 today, so I will not be present for the 8th meeting. So please show that in the notes, please, that I did let you know that.
Well, it depends on what would take, it would, I mean,
If she's
per
been
our.
part of the discussion.
Yeah, per our procedures, if she was here for the discussion but was absent for the vote, then she could vote, but, call in for the vote, but otherwise, no.
It depends, right.
Right, it depends on where we
You
get
have my phone
by the
number.
time you leave, which is what, about an hour from now?
Yes.
Okay.
In good news, Gone Girl comes out today.
I know. And I've heard great reviews.
Okay,
In
so I
fact,
haven't read
I
it.
heard
I haven't
one
read
better
that
than the book.
Have you not read it?
Me too.
Is it,
You haven't read
is it good, or?
It's so good.
Everyone says it's so good, but, okay, so like, I really don't like scary stuff. Is it scary at all?
Not scary.
No.
Like, I'm a big baby about it. I don't, if I know it's gonna scare me, I will not engage in it.
It's apprehension.
Movies,
Yeah,
any
no,
of that.
it's a thinker. But if you read it, you have to read it. And if you read it, that cannot be the only one that you read at first. And you gotta do the other two as well.
Okay.
She's good. She's interesting.
Because Gone Girl's about the girl in
Dark
whatever
Places
Missouri
and
Yeah, that's it.
okay.
Because I read another one, but it's not that one. I can't remember.
One of my librarians was like, you should read this book, and I try to like
I wish
read a
I'd
book that
known.
causes anxiety and then one that doesn't, because
Dark Places and
I can't do two in a row that are like that make me anxious or that
No.
too cerebral.
Because I read something else she wrote.
I need like a
I thought so.
I need an easy one in between.
April Henry? Have I got the right author?
Gillian Flynn.
Oh, okay. That's why. I'm thinking of April Henry. But I did read Gone Girl. It was so good. There are so many good books out as movies this year. But I don't watch a whole lot of movies. We never go to the movie. And actually, sometimes I love the book so much that I don't want to be disappointed when I go to the movie. So, did you see The Fault in Our Stars?
Oh, yeah.
Was it as good as the book?
I didn't love the book.
Oh, I did.
I love Sean Green. I have the biggest crush in the entire world on Sean Green. He's the cutest thing ever. His YouTube videos are freaking awesome. He loves Catcher in the Rye, and it's one of my favorite books in the entire world. And he has the same love for Holden Caulfield as I do, so it's meant to be that we should be best friends.
I thought she was going to say something else there.
No, he's married and has babies. But he, we tried to get him, we tweeted at him every day for like 2 weeks last year. Couldn't get him to tweet back at us because we wanted to talk to him about Catcher in the Rye. But I love Looking for Alaska.
Oh, I do too.
It's his first, and it's my favorite. I love it.
I haven't read anything else by him. I did enjoy Fault in Our Stars.
I really like Paper Towns.
Because that one was one of those like, easier reads.
It's a mystery.
You know, I just read.
I don't like to watch the movies afterwards.
I just read Strasser's new. Well, I don't know how new it is. Fallout. It's fiction about the Cold War. And I don't have a strong history, social studies background because I was trained in a time when you memorized facts, and I got LAs. I got LAs and had no conceptual knowledge until I started teaching young adult historical fiction, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, this is what World War II is about? And so I had nothing really regarding the Cold War. I mean, gosh, I can throw that term out there.
I think you can learn a lot.
Fallout is really good.
Me too.
You should read it. I was mesmerized. I also read a book called The Testing. So for your kids who like the Hunger Games, and The Testing was really good too. The Testing. And I know there's already a sequel. And then I read a couple that weren't quite as...
I'm going to do the Ashfall series because a ton of my kids are reading it and absolutely love it.
I read the first one and I don't get any further because I have too many other things I want to read.
I'm reading Eleanor Park right now. A bunch of my girls.
Oh, it's supposed to be excellent and I haven't read it. And I believe John Green recommends it.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I just think he is the cutest thing.
Well, I told Jill the last time we met, she mentioned...
He's so perfect.
That's the way I usually choose when I look at the pictures.
Sometimes when I have nothing to do, like I'll just watch his YouTube videos.
Remember when Jill mentioned the last time we met having a kid whose parents were meth cookers, and she realized that. So I had just finished reading a book, and I'd have to look up the name of it, I can't remember it now. It was really interesting because the two main characters, it's young adult, the girl has Asperger's. She tells the story, narrates the story, and the boy, she learns, and then you learn his parents are meth cookers.
Oh my.
The idea, that is very fresh. I mean, you know, I haven't seen much done about that, but the writing wasn't real strong. I mean, it kind of, I still read it.
Winter's Bone, kind of.
Yeah.
The book or the movie? The book.
Who's it by?
The movie was amazing.
Who's Winter's Bone by? I haven't read it.
Okay, Casey just texted me. She said this is taking a while. Most work groups have a ton of people here. Lots of questions about copyright and lawsuits. Senators and bar answering and checking with House counsel. So,
Well, that was nice that she did that.
yeah.
Can you tell her we appreciate that?
Yeah, I'm going to tell her too.
I bet she's a darn good teacher in the classroom.
We had a nice conversation at lunch one day about how she kind of got into where she is at Francis Howell, and she teaches in a closet, but like a larger storage closet, and it's like it was carpeted to begin with, and so she's like, I actually have this really great room that you wouldn't think is this really great room, and because they put me in a closet, I was able to kind of, you know, say, well, since I'm in a closet, could you know, because give me this or whatever. And although she did say yesterday that I guess she said it. I don't know if everyone heard it or she said it to me. I can't remember. I think it was at lunch that there was a leak in her room. She said that when like the wind blows one way, like this, the one way doesn't matter, but the other way it just drenches in. And I was like, ooh, and you have carpet, yeah. I can't imagine. But she said their probably screws come up. But anyway, it was a nice conversation about. She teaches the struggling readers. Other budgeting. That's what I got.
Homecoming dance this weekend, busy both girls.
Homecoming at your school?
Yeah, my daughter.
How old is she?
She's a senior.
I can't believe you have a child that old.
I know, right?
You don't look like you have a child that old.
Well, I was very young.
I was very young when I had mine too, but I look and feel old. I didn't used to say that, but I believe that now.
Don't talk.
Just wait.
That. I was gonna say.
Please, not old.
Please consider others in the room.
I'd like to have the energy that you have right now. I don't have anything.
Sometimes I don't either. A lot of times I do. Sometimes I don't.
Well, I do find sometimes if I put on the face, then sometimes the energy rises to that. But
Take it till you make it.
I recommend walking as much as you can. And several of my friends have gotten standing desks.
Really?
Really.
That's big in Columbia.
And one of them has actually a treadmill.
that's why I wondered. I've seen some things, read some things about them.
I like the student desks that have steppers.
Desks where you stand, but you can also
Underneath them.
lower them.
They just have little pedals. I would love to have those.
It's amazing though to think, I don't believe ever in my career, maybe lifetime, we'll see that happen because I get so frustrated with the ones who still have the student desks in rows that I have to slide into the, I'm still trying to move teachers
Out
to
of the rows.
collaboration and then, I mean, even at least make those into pods, but please ask for small desks or tables or. Okay, right to order proposal.
Are you gonna present?
Well, we'll see, won't we?
Awesome. What are you gonna present?
Actually, well, that's catchy title. I always try to bring along I present almost every year, but I try to bring a new young teacher along, and co-present, and then kind of get them. And really, this district that I'm in now, this is my second year, they don't have a history of attending Right to Learn. And I just am so surprised because it offers for everybody. It's a great state conference. I was at St. Joe for 7 years. Before that, I was at Savannah for 7.
No, my cousin.
Who's that?
Tracy Westfall?
Yes. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you from originally?
Maryville.
Well, I grew up in Barnard.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Did you go to Maryville High?
No, my mom moved out of Maryville when she married my dad, and she started teaching at Fort Osage. So she taught there for 40 years.
Well, I grew up in Barnard, so I really knew Tracy before.
Yeah.
I was at Savannah. Before Savannah, I was at Mid-Buchanan.
Okay, yeah.
Where the semi hangs for 9 years. So.
What's your maiden name?
Bunkowski.
Bunkowski. You're like, okay, I'm sure it is.
How long did you live in Maryville? I mean, how old were you?
Until I was 4.
Oh, okay.
But I'm there all the time.
Well, my mother, so you know where the 5 Mile Corner is?
Mm-hmm. My grandparents owned it for a while.
Well, the house that is south of it, on the curve on the same side of the road, is where my mother grew up the last half of her childhood. And my cousin actually lives there still now, the Watsons. My mother was a Kaiser. She was the youngest of 7. That name doesn't stick around a lot because there were 6 girls.
Yeah.
And the oldest was a boy, and he didn't have any more children. But that name was well known when my mom was growing up. So.
Small world.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Oh, cool. Yeah, text Jason. Is this an extra copy?
Is Karen not coming? Oh, you know what? I have not heard from her. I called and left her a message on her phone yesterday with my phone number.
Okay, so she's still on the committee.
Yeah.
I almost had inferred that you had replaced her.
No, there's two.
Okay, okay, that's good. I just didn't know.
Well, you know, and I assumed that she was, that was just bad on my part, I assumed she wasn't, based on the fact that she wasn't here yesterday. But I probably should have.
Was she here before?
She was here on Monday and
She
earlier on Tuesday?
No, she wasn't here. She had
But
been,
we didn't
know about it.
She had been
Right.
appointed late
That's
the
right.
week
She had a
before.
field trip on Tuesday.
Well, we didn't find out about it until Friday.
Right, that's how she was. And when she was told, she was only told about the first day of the meeting and not the second by whoever appointed her. And she already had plans on the second day. Well, Malia did look at the list last night for us because we have the one empty appointment.
Yeah.
And she said that she has contacted everybody with every work group who has an appointment still outstanding and said we need these people, and essentially they are exhausting their lists. And so the assumption is being made that a lot of the positions that are currently open will not be filled because they're not coming up with people to fill them. And she was notified of somebody who was originally appointed and then not going to be able to fulfill, but Karen's name was not, I mean, she, as far as I know, she didn't have, Karen wasn't going to fulfill. So. But anyway, you asked about right to learn. So one of the things I want to do is thematic lit circles. I did it a couple of years ago with my 2 colleagues that I taught with in my department, and then I have teachers in our middle school doing it right now. They're doing it a little bit different than what we did.
Yeah.
But I don't believe kids all need to be reading the same book. In fact, I think it really increases the conversation when they're not. And we had a really great process for identifying books, and they got familiar with them and they chose their book. They chose their top 3. We picked 2. We then assigned kids to books and put them in thematic lit circles. And they would work independently in their reader's notebook. So, for example, identifying character traits that describe the main character and backing that up. And then they would come together in their thematic lit circles. So there's 4 or 5 of them all reading different books. And they would have to talk about their characters and the strength or relative strength or weakness and decide, place all their characters on a continuum from weak to strong instead of just rating them. And there was tremendous conversation. Talk about theme and find a common theme. So that's one. The other one is just simply digital tools for success. Because the theme is sparking student success. So things like Class Dojo, some of the class management tools, digital tools you can use, those kinds of things. When I was in St. Joe, we were 1-to-1. Well, Bodie was 1-to-1 when I was there with MacBooks, and I had been at Benton prior to that, and they implemented 1-to-1 in that district with MacBooks. So, of course, the doing things very differently now.
The kids are now not in colors circles. Our theme right now is what does it mean to be human?
And so,
reading Long Way On. Some kids are reading Right. Some kids are reading The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. It's for them.
But in a lit circle, they're reading the same book.
Yes.
And that's what my 8th grade teacher is doing right now, all around a common theme, 4 or 5 different, no, she probably has 7 different books. What we did though is each of our groups had a different theme with 4 or 5 different books around that theme.
Oh, okay.
So it was really interesting. Very compelling. Great way to incorporate student choice. There wasn't a single kid really who didn't end up really loving the books that they
Yeah.
Okay, more life than Miranda Last.
Awesome.
Yeah, and what other ones?
Long Way Gone, Memoirs of a Boy Soldier, and Catcher in the Rye, and the other one is fiction too, and it's
Must be
going to be in
great.
a minute. Come on, lady.
So you do have a mix of nonfiction.
Yeah. And they got to choose.
And what grade level was that?
Sophomores. They're the honors kids.
Yeah. I realize that.
It's challenging, for sure.
Lindsay, what was your name?
It's Thompson.
It is Thompson.
Yeah, my mom's a West Hall.
Brothers and sisters?
No. Tracy's dad and my mom are siblings.
Okay. Related to like Dave Thompson that ran Gray's out north of town?
No.
Okay.
The Thompson side there, Kansas City, Country Club Plaza, Country Club Bank.
So your mom grew up in Maryville?
Yeah.
Do you ever have concerns with the parents being concerned about what books you're reading?
Well, at Photosage last year, there was a parent that challenged Confessions of a Part-Time Indian, Sherman Alexie, and the board convened a group similar to this with parents or whatever, and found it to be okay. So, sometimes there'll be parents that don't want their kids to read it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
There's
Do
something
everybody
else.
else. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
See, that has been interesting for me moving into Smithville because it's really a pretty conservative community, and there's been a lot of local control on the part of the community as well as the teachers. And so we just tread cautiously and they don't even attempt some things that would perhaps create conversations. Whereas, my gosh, when you're in St. Joe and your poverty level is, 70% or so, I mean, a lot of them, they don't have the energy, they don't take the time, they don't even begin to know to challenge anything or to think about a text or to even be involved in that. So it was really interesting.
That's what it is.
That is a book that I read and heard as an audiobook, and I have to say the audiobook is
Really?
It really is.
That book was too long.
You hear the voices. Well, not if you're driving 2 hours a day.
Okay.
An audiobook.
Okay. No, I shouldn't be interrupted anyway on that, but I just, that was
It's too long.
But I heard it first.
Yeah.
And then I read it afterward because I wanted to read it also because I'm still skeptical about my ability to process what's in an audiobook. But
You can't do close reading.
No.
But it really, the voices on the audiobook are really, really great.
But devil's advocate, if I'm doing it, Maradella, for enjoyment, I don't need to do close reading.
Absolutely.
But that's one thing that I have to remind myself of often, because I find myself putting a lot of work sometimes into a text that I'm choosing just to enjoy.
Yeah.
Like right now,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
reading
hard.
next
You
year.
can't stop that way.
Next year, right now I'm reading next year's Truman list, the nominees, the haven't chosen yet, and I have to remind myself that all I have to do is give it a score of 1 to 5.
I don't have to write it down.
I don't have, exactly. I don't have to identify textual evidence, or I really only have to be able to justify to myself that number I'm giving it, and I'm going to submit it, and nobody's going to ask.
Teachable, not teachable.
Appropriate for the audience or not, but I have to remind myself occasionally.
My 2 friends that are one in the math K5 and one in the ELA K5, when they opened it up for comments, they left.
What did you just
Those
say?
2 left, or other people left?
Those 2 left.
So they don't have any more information.
So there's just now opened up for comments.
It was about, was it 9:52? That's 10.
Does the memo say 30-minute meeting?
It does, yes.
30-minute meeting.
It will be done by 9:30.
But they adjourned just recently. Pardon? They just recently adjourned.
But then open it up for for questions.
I don't have any idea.
Let's see something.
Just to know.
Yeah.
Trying to decide if I want to get it.
Would you like for me to go get you one?
No. Thanks. I can do it unless you like really want to go. So I'm just trying to decide, do I want one? I really don't like to drink it, but I'm like.
You have that bottle of water there. That's good.
I know. I drink a lot of it. And yesterday I bought one at lunch and, brought it up and it was not enough. And then I bought two at the hotel. Like I just, and I really am struggling with just drinking the water out of the tap here. I don't like it. I try really hard not to be a water snob, but I don't. It's just, because of what I drink at home, it's just different, so it's just harder. And I drink so much of it. It's all I drink. But
I wish that's what. They say that if you get into the habit, your body will crave it.
I guess that's my problem.
I haven't had a soda in 10 years.
And I will drink one here and there, especially when I feel like I need a.
Every once in a while I do too. It's just like,
Or sometimes I just want, or like here they have cherry Coke in the can, and I'm getting that at lunch. I just love cherry Coke. It's my
When I go to the movie theater and I have the popcorn, need the Diet Coke. It's so good.
That combination, that sweet.
Yes.
Salty.
Look you in.
I did recently read a book though called Sweetness Never Knowing.
Are you okay?
Yeah. It's fighting off a migraine.
Oh, we were worried. We thought maybe you weren't feeling well.
I don't think it would have been how I missed it. And then I didn't drink it.
Oh, good. Gosh.
And we shared it wouldn't improve your migraine.
Yeah, you might have taken it all.
Accelerated feedback.
Uh-oh, what have I missed?
Oh, you're probably,
Film is on.
you may have to come sit by me when the others return.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Elizabeth moved herself.
Elizabeth has put herself there and Casey's still there. She'd take her
You can come here.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a spot there and there's a spot
Yeah.
over there.
That's right.
I think her name.
Nobody's wanted to sit on.
Oh, I've got two over here too.
Yesterday, everybody just, I mean.
Okay, so right here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, Stacy's
Oh, be
there.
careful behind you because I am. I am, and I will unplug. I can just, because they are all over.
So then, do you have medication that when you feel one coming on, you can?
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll usually, once it kicks in, it'll usually be okay.
And are you okay, or you still have some headache now?
I just have a twinge, but not bad.
Is chocolate healthy?
No.
Caffeine or?
Yeah,
Doesn't
everything.
She's not gonna have it.
Does it bother you when you drive?
I don't have them very often, just honestly.
Because you have to drive
So,
Are you
I may stay.
sure the meeting's been adjourned?
What meeting?
I'm,
Over at the council.
Board meeting.
a colleague of mine texted me and said adjourning.
I mean, I
Maybe
feel
you
like
should type it.
if it's, or maybe you, somebody emailed you from Margaret, Christie, Carrie?
Casey texted me. I can text her.
Could you maybe just text her and
Yes.
ask her what their ETA is?
Yeah.
We have 9 people now. If they're on their way, I absolutely want to wait, but otherwise we've already burned.
I would glad to.
I don't want the full blown version.
No, okay. Well, yeah, you don't want the full blown version.
No.
One of them has to be.
It's 10 after.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you.
I do have one update. I don't know if I tried to flow, but actually I have two updates.
No flow?
Okay. So I have two updates, and Representative Barr is talking to legal counsel on it, so it's where it stands is it's going to be legal counsel and/or Representative Barr. I believe legal counsel is going to come over and explain just where we are, which is that Common Core is copyrighted, and my mom is a children's literary agent, editor, writer, so know all about those. So copyrights mean we can't use them. And so when I told we're starting with that framework, he said, that may not be, we could be subject to the lawsuit. And I know that, I'm not a lawyer, my sister is. So I can't like speak to that, and I said, well, I'm not gonna speak to that to my group, because they're gonna ask me a lot of questions, and I don't wanna get into a debate that I'm beyond my pay grade. But that's where it stands, and so that's where that's going. And then the other thing he strongly recommended was that they want one seamless, and I know we're doing this, they want one seamless K through 12 set of whatever it is that we end up with. And so, yeah, so he said since the work groups are allowed to configure however we want, he can't tell us to do it, but he strongly recommends that we meet with our group and that he offers, he wants the liaison chief, he strongly encourages, he can't suggest the liaison chief to be meeting with all of the other liaisons to make sure that everything is coordinating, which is his recommendation. And he suggested that, sorry, I'm tired, what did he say? He suggested, he offered hearing rooms, if we need a space, there's plenty of hearing rooms available that can accommodate our full group. So that's, there was a lot of other things, but I think that was what I told, that was germane to our discussions.
Thank you for sharing.
So, well, may I just say, I know we're not really back in session, but given the animosity toward starting with the Common Core, even though I think you're talking about issues focus, we have the show me standards, which are ours. We could start with those. We could establish our strands. We could establish our clusters. And then start that way.
And actually, in those particular show me standards, we would look specifically at the ELA ones, I'm assuming, correct? Yes. So,
Elizabeth, do you know if everyone else is coming back, or?
I don't. I mean, I think that I think they were going to come back, but I think they might be waiting for legal counsel to discuss that. I can go. I don't mind taking another walk and see.
Oh no, I don't want to do that. I was just curious because I think we all assumed when you walked in, everyone else would be behind you because you guys all were there. So I was just curious if they had indicated that they weren't returning to you or not. So because to me, Jill and Stacy, I talked to Heather, the both of them said, I will be back. And so did Casey.
Well, could you text her?
Yeah, I will. Actually, I was going to when you walked in the room. So yeah.
And maybe suggest that there's some suggestions that Nancy had to, move ahead with the older standards or something. I don't know.
You've already had a lawyer come talk to us once.
Are we basically back to square one?
No, we'll just establish our strands. We can establish our strands.
That was
not on anything.
the first thing on our agenda, and so.
We don't have to use any. We can come up with strands.
We're not going to use it.
Well, we haven't decided that yet, actually.
It
The
was
vote was probably last time to use the Common Core, but we're obviously not going to be able to proceed.
Right.
Because we'll just be shouting, talking this down.
I think
So let's just start with the show me standards. We know that reading and writing are basic standards.
I would like to at least wait until we have all the people who are here in the room, and then let me text Casey and see.
That's what I would like to do is avoid having to fight again.
Yeah, I understand.
Just agree without a lawyer interfering.
And move on to actual standards, since that's what we.
The issue is not to use the Common Core, quote unquote, of Missouri Learning Standards as a basis. The issue is not that we can't establish strands.
No, you're right. No, but Nick left the room, and I don't want to start without him being in the room, and I would like to see, I just texted Casey and asked her if she knows she could give me an ETA, because we would like to start, but we don't want to start without them if they're on their way. So let me just see if I can hear back from her. And sorry, I was in the middle of a work email and realized I must hit 15.
And that's your vote.
On a different note, please, I ate at that little cafe up on the corner Madison.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Isn't
good.
it
How
wonderful?
They do a nice
Lobster
job.
ravioli.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Did you eat their last
Yes, I stopped.
Yeah, they do a nice job.
I had a salad, which was good, and lobster ravioli. I thought, I'm not gonna eat all this, and then it's gone. I looked up and saw it.
It's always the way when it's like really yummy, right? Always the way.
So if I may, Carrie, back to
Yes,
where
I'm
we were.
sorry.
Well, no, because I've been busy trying to make sure that I transcribe what is important about
Right.
this. Danette had asked if I could bring her up to date from the minutes with what was done. Are you guys comfortable with me doing that right now?
Yeah, the
I'm
tape
not
was
going
rolling,
to
I'm
read
fine
them,
with that.
Danette, but I
Okay.
will go through chronologically and
Alright, I'm
kind of
gonna
give
use
you
the
an
restrooms.
idea.
Okay.
Heather Drury is here today and was not yesterday. She asked for a recap of the day. So Carrie was recapping the work that was done, the revisions that were made to the graduate outcomes, the review that was done of the other 3 state standards yesterday, the establishment of voting procedures and norms, what was wanted and not wanted as a part of the standards. That's that document, the chart that you did yesterday, and the fact that you discussed and took a vote on using the Missouri Learning Standards as a starting place. That opened up a lot of discussion about doing that, about the copyright issue. Heather asked how the group could vote to choose those when they're copyrighted. There was a lot of discussion about that. She noted that House Bill 1490 was supposed to replace the Common Core because the people in Missouri voted to replace the Common Core. There was quite a bit of discussion about the intent of House Bill 1490 and the language of 1490 as it currently stands versus as it was originally written and versus an amendment that was attempted to be made to it that did not stand. Lindsay noted that the group decided to use the current Missouri Learning Standards, but to develop its own. She actually went back in the conversation 2 or 3 times to note the desire to draw in the other standards that you've looked at in crafting and that you would not end up with a Common Core document. Heather has asked that the group find a different place to start other than the Missouri Learning Standards where everyone can agree. There was considerable discussion around that, simply wanting to negate what was done yesterday and choose another starting place. She suggested, and Jill Noble agreed, that they are not comfortable with signing their name to a document when they're finished that begins with the Common Core state standards. Discussion about going back. There was a vote yesterday. If we undo that vote, we're setting a precedent to undo future work also, and we will never move forward. Some discussion about test results this last year being reflection of Common Core and not being able to be successful, therefore standards. But others who said that's not true in my case. In my district, we've implemented it longer than 1 year and we're showing success. Jill left the room. Several times it was pointed out that yesterday there were attempts to use other standards as starting points rather than Missouri Learning Standards, and that didn't occur. But someone also noted that there was a vote and a majority vote. We reviewed what the majority vote was. At about 8:42, others left the room. Stacy Shore, who joined us yesterday, left the room, and she read a statement that has been entered into the record that you probably need to be familiar with. It's addressed to members of the ELA 612 Workgroup. We wish to go on record opposing the writing of new standards using the current Missouri Learning Standards as the platform for developing Missouri ELA standards for 6 through 12. And the reasons stated are, number 1, the Common Core state standards are copyrighted. Number 2, Missouri does not own the Common Core standards. Number 3, we believe the vote was rushed. There was not adequate discussion to make an informed decision. We formally request that document be added to the official record of today's meeting that was submitted by Jill and Stacy and Heather. Then there was discussion about who's going to the plenary session, and several suggested that they didn't feel like they needed clarification that the plenary session was going to offer. Lindsay asked Heather to show what of the Common Core state standards she doesn't like. Heather simply said that she refuses to pick apart the Common Core state standards. A lot of discussion about what Missouri parents wanted, and in discussion that House Bill 1490 was a result of what Missouri parents wanted, and then it became what Missouri residents, I believe is the word, wanted. So back to the intent of that. And then by 8:50, there were only 8 members remaining. Several went to the plenary session and they realized that really no work could go on. And other than that, Maradella did ask, there was some question about, Heather brought up the, I'm going to say appointment of Carrie and Nick as co-liaisons. That was done, remember, on your second workday previously. Maradella asked me to look at the language of that, and I did. And you, by consensus, I cannot find that there was a vote, agreed to name them interim co-liaisons. And that's where the meeting then left off. Is there anything, guys, that I missed that she needs to know, or anything that was not accurate in that?
He's wide out for my
Okay.
I don't know what your name is.
My maiden name? Bonkowski. K-O-W-S-K-O.
No.
My
I just
father
asked
was
God
from
if I
St.
watch
Joe.
over if
My
there was something
great-grandparents
interesting.
immigrated
I don't know if it's perfect to do
about
it.
1902 from Poland, and my dad grew up in Goosetown in St. Joe, but my mother was a Kaiser. So, Barnard, Dugans, Watsons, Laughlin's, Kay Espy, who runs an RA newsletter now, she was Kay Wilson, lived at Pumpkin Center. She's my cousin.
Pumpkin Center, we had one of those.
At Pumpkin Center?
Yeah. That's out of town.
It was a little gas
Silent
station,
Spring.
there's nothing there now.
Yeah.
Nothing.
At our Pumpkin
Yeah,
Center either.
there's nothing there.
Tori, would you look at yesterday's minutes and tell us how long we actually spent talking about?
I don't think she's got that.
I have
You
not
got it.
recorded.
I have to look at the tape.
Well, I'm beginning to think that perhaps I should now. The only
Spent
thing
an
that,
hour and a half on voting procedure.
well, the only thing that would be a reflection of that would, I have been, well, you've seen them, I sent them so that you guys would be aware. I try not to summarize the conversation, I try to truly transcribe as much of it as is possible and relevant. And so that should indicate something to you about the substance and thus the length of the conversation. But I will be glad to, I might do that when a discussion begins on a particular topic. I know that was an issue in the conversation yesterday.
Here, but
we needed to
I unplugged
establish
mine, so you're not trapped by cord.
And certainly, if you tell me to, I will be glad, Dana or I, to be a timekeeper, and I will get that in your minutes.
Carrie, I would move to text the rest of the committee members and tell them that we're planning to resume if the rest of the committee still
Could I make a
deems it
statement?
appropriate. What?
This, I just want to go on record as saying, I did vote against using Common Core as a framework. I am, however, fine with the majority vote, and I feel like I'm ready to work from here and go on. I guess I'm saying I'm not in the core
We appreciate that.
opposition. I voted.
I'm afraid we're not gonna be able to
work at all.
Why don't we, thank you, Danette, why don't we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Elizabeth stepped out, she said she was gonna call Casey, I texted Casey and just said curious about your ETA. I don't remember what else I asked her, something about we're eager to get started. She said stop for a restroom break, be there soon, and then I shared that with Elizabeth, and Elizabeth said I'm going to call her. So I texted Casey back and said we have 9 in the room, so we're going to start shortly. So I was going to ask you guys what shortly would mean to you after your conversation was over. So anyway, because I feel like we certainly can start talking about some things that don't have anything to do with Common Core or any other state standards. So
You do have a motion on the floor.
We do have a motion on the floor. Thank you.
To begin, I guess that was my motion, right?
Yes, it is.
Thanks for bringing
He
that.
knows there are 9 present, and the group can proceed. I just want to make sure I get the notes for you.
Are there some more blue placemats anywhere?
I can get some.
Okay,
Yes,
thanks.
thank So we would need a second, and right? Or I think we should probably vote on that anyway.
I'll second.
Okay.
That's just what I want to go on record as saying. I'm fine with the vote and to move on with it.
We have strands listed up there, so we.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second, so let's take a vote. All in favor of beginning now with our norm that we have 9 present in the room to proceed with the work. Please signify by raising your hand. You don't have to vote that way.
Well,
You can vote no.
I'm just anticipating problems.
That's fine. It's okay, you don't have to.
So Carrie, how do you want?
Vote how you want to be.
vote? I just really.
I'll vote no.
Okay.
All right, I go with Nancy's idea. I make a motion that we proceed with our strands, but not use Common Core as a basis.
Well, okay, hold on, I want to record this one first and figure out where we are. I want to figure out if we're starting or not.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I figured we were, but I want to just make sure. I felt like there was a little hesitation.
But I don't know that we need to have any, can we go until 10:30?
I'm happy to do that.
But I really am not willing to give them much longer than 10:30. The meeting was supposed to be 9 to 9:30.
We haven't
Okay.
accomplished anything on
Many
the
people have
agenda.
driven far and.
2.5 wasted hours.
Well, no, I had a migraine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not prepared.
Okay, Casey said she's not feeling well, but she is coming. Okay, there we go.
Yay.
They're back.
Hello. Hi.
Oh, I missed it.
Kim actually purchased it last night and brought it.
Oh. Oh, nice, thank you. Oh, we like that. A little sugar.
Did Casey come in?
You don't like the thing?
No, she indicated she's not feeling great. So
Okay.
Which is why she is coming, so I think she'll be here when she's able. Yeah, she just said I'm not feeling so well.
Sorry, that's my fault. Well, this is, oh, I thought it was.
Yeah, was it like quarter to 12?
Okay, I think, yeah, we had enough for everybody, maybe. That might be nice.
Okay, if you did not sign in, please sign in. Let's make sure this goes all the way around.
Are we ready?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just texting her back and telling her that.
Okay. I would like to propose, since I'm the one who originally said that I would like to start with Common Core, that has caused such contention. I would like to propose that we begin looking at our strands and clusters under those strands, and that we use as our basis for discussion the Show Me standards, which are Missouri standards, and I hope will cause no distress on anyone's part if we use the Show Me standards. I like that emotion. I do that.
I'll second that.
What brought that change about, Nancy?
I would like to continue with the work, and I'm afraid with such a local minority, we will not be able to do that. And I want to get the work done. I want to get the work done. I think it would be faster using the established Missouri Learning Standards as the basis, but maybe efficiency isn't our goal. But I want to get the work done. I don't want it to be next September and we submit nothing to the state board, and so we just end up with the status quo after a year of work. So I just think we can start with Show Me standards, not quite as complete, but there's no question of legitimacy, although there's really no question of legitimacy to Common Core either. But let's not muddy the waters with that. That's my proposal.
I was on the original committee that helped write these standards, and I've noticed that they, like the other standards we've been looking at, have some really essential strands that are part of the English language arts curriculum. For example, reading and writing. I think I'm hoping that most people here could agree that those two strands belong in the English language
language arts curriculum for 6th and 12th grade. So I'm very supportive of that.
Do we have a second on that?
We had a second.
Yeah.
It feels like we're having some discussion. Is there any more discussion needed?
Sure.
Before we take a vote.
I mean, I think I have no qualms with, I mean, obviously, Johnny standards guide all of it. But again, there's 7 of them for communication arts, so I don't know that it's going to accomplish the practicality of using.
Those are not strands.
Those are our bases.
Right, right, and I agree, we need to figure out our strengths, but again, at some point, we've got to figure out, you know, we're either writing standards from scratch, or we're using existing standards and revising and evaluating them.
That's the reason I said when you look at these particular standards, they do all come almost all. There is a third one we could talk about, but other than 1 or 2 of these, the rest of the 7 come under reading or writing. So if we need to go back to the basics, like what is in English language arts, it does seem to me that those 2, probably at least in my own mind, if we might bring some years experience, are non-negotiable.
I think we're establishing a framework right now. What actually goes into that framework, I think that we are going to have to look at various sources. But right now, we're just trying to get a framework. What do we think? What do we want to have in our strands? What do the strands look like?
The overarching.
Right.
I just want to say thank you for having the conversation. I thank you for listening and being willing to talk and to understand where we're coming from. I appreciate that very much. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you, Stacy. But I would like to request that our future conversations actually be meaningful conversations.
I agree. I think that, you know, the issue is we're, as parents with children at home that we've seen, that's what, I'm sorry.
I know, but
that's
I just want to be included in that.
When you sigh,
I just want to be included
I'm a parent, but
So
when you
am I.
act, that's disrespectful, and
Okay.
that's where we're at. When you make that sigh and you act so disgusted,
I'm
that's
not
where,
disgusted,
that's,
Stacey, I have never
you know,
been
when you-
discussing with you. I'm sorry, I just want to be included in that
But
discussion
my
of
issue is,
parents.
but where we're frustrated is that when teachers treat us like that, like you just, because I know you're a mom too, but this mom, from my perspective,
So then
from
say,
my perspective,
there we go.
but there's lots and lots and lots of parents just like me.
And there's lots like me, so we just
agree
need
with
to
you.
come to
But
that
again, we just have to find mutual respect, because I do
Absolutely.
respect you. I do
I
respect you,
respect
and
you,
I
Stacey,
think
very
you're a
much.
great teacher.
Thank you.
But like Heather, I feel like I'm a parental voice,
Yes.
and that's where this
I
bill
do
was
too.
originated. For parents to have a voice also. But I appreciate Nancy.
Okay,
I
but I
appreciate that
really
very
like
much.
to move on with the work.
But can I just say,
Thank you so
this
much.
really quick from what we just took away from the plenary session? They asked, someone in the audience asked, are the Missouri Learning Standards off the table because they are copyrighted? And the answer was, yes, they're off the table to use because as a framework because they're copyrighted and not in the public domain.
And that
That's-
answer is inaccurate.
But you're not.
I
you're
asked
wrong.
the same question to the Missouri School Board Association.
Sorry, we're gonna
who
defer to
contacted
your
the
part.
National Governors Association, who owns the copyright. Here's a letter that they produced. What it clearly says right here, right? Dear Ms. Randall, who was the School Board Association representative, who passed it around to everybody. This letter concerns the public license grant for the Common Core State Standards. On the branding guidelines page of www.corestandards.org, you will find the following statement. Reproduction of the standards or text within the Common Core State Standards does not require the express stated permission of the National Governors Association or the Council of Chief State School Officers. However, the terms of the public license must be adhered to. Next paragraph. Furthermore, on the public license page, you will find the following descriptions of a license grant. The NGA Center for Best Practices of the Council of Chief State School Officers hereby grant a limited, non-exclusive, royalty-free license to copy, publish, distribute, and display the Common Core State Standards for purposes and support the Common Core State Standards Initiative. These uses may involve the Common Core State Standards as a whole or selected excerpts or portions. This provides clear approval for Missouri to use the Common Core State Standards or selected excerpts or portions. That is from the owner of the copyright.
I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know if any of us are in this room, but there is one that's going to come over and make a decision for us. So I think we have a motion on the table, and that was seconded as far as how we want to proceed. And so I don't know if this is helping us carry that forward. And I don't want to stifle discussion by any means, but I'm not sure that we're qualified.
So let me just address that, because you're going to bring this to the table for everyone. If you'll see right here where it says, the Common Core State
the purpose of that support the Common Core State Standards Initiative. That's not what we're here for. So you can use them if you're supporting the Common Core State Standards Initiative. It clearly says that. But that is not, again, we are here to develop standards. So we can use it if we're going to support the Common Core State Standards Initiative, but that's not what we're commissioned to do.
I'm just saying legally, this letter says we have, the state of Missouri has clear approval to use the Common Core State Standards or selected excerpts or portions. That is from the copyright owner. That is from the copyright owner.
So we have, I guess I need to have a better idea of what we're trying to accomplish here. So we have a motion on the table to start with the placemat, with the content and process standards. My assumption, and in a second, my assumption is that
I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify that I thought the motion, Nancy could clarify for us, since she made it, but I thought the motion was to start with the content standards.
I'm sorry. Yes, not process. I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you for clarifying. Yeah, I misspoke there. You're correct. So
I thought it didn't specify.
No, I think that was my error. So the motion was to start with the Missouri State Content Standards for English Language Arts. My assumption in reading into that was so that we can start with our agenda items for the day, which is to begin to identify strands.
Yes.
It sounds as though further clarification on everything that we continue to disagree on is coming. I think that for the benefit of the group, it would make sense to get started. What I want to know is there any further conversation on the motion to use, to begin with the Missouri State of the Show Me content standards as our basis. Yeah, to begin the work. So is there any further discussion needed, or can we take a vote? No further discussions needed? Okay. So all in favor of using the Show Me Show Me standards content.
Communication arts content.
Thank you. Show Me communication arts content standards. I guess raise your hand. I believe it is unanimous, but you're still going to take down the names, right? So we know who was in the room.
I already, if you want me to, the notes clearly reflect who was in the room. As people have come in and out,
just making sure.
if you take a break and go to the restroom, I'm not recording that.
Right.
But when we went to a break and when people left for the plenary, I have recorded as those people have come in and out.
Okay.
If you want me to record all names, I will.
No, that's okay.
So it's a unanimous decision of those in the room.
And I have one more motion before we
And there are.
Okay.
I think that we did, by a vote of those present, last, whatever that day was, Tuesday, we elected Carrie to be our facilitator, but I think we made that a sort of pro tem. Now I'd like to propose that Carrie be our facilitator, our liaison, as permanent appointment.
I second. All those in favor?
Oh, I appreciate that.
Can I clarify the motion?
That Carrie Skeeters will become our permanent liaison facilitator.
So that does not take care of the co-liaison, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And was that unanimous?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Who seconded it? Who seconded it?
Oh.
Thank you.
Strands.
I would like to propose that the two, they may not end up being the first, and I'm thinking just from my own experience of teaching, I would like to propose that the second and third standards under communication arts showing standards, reading literary text, they specify which ones, fiction, poetry, and drama, but that's, if you want to leave it that way, I don't care.
Keep them broad.
But, yes, keep them broad. Reading literary text and reading nonfiction text be two of our strands.
Should I start with like a working draft and then we'll cross things off if we don't like them, so we'll just kind of have a brainstorming document? Okay. Any preferences on color?
Second.
I love the pace. You don't get to choose next time. You guys keep going with me. Okay, I'm sorry, Maridella, would you please say that again?
Reading literary text,
Okay.
which is number 2, and reading nonfiction texts, which is number 3. Do you need Vanna White to stand up here with you? Do you want, I don't mind, I'm not.
Say nonfiction?
Nonfiction
Okay.
text.
I just want to make sure I'm putting it down the way you said it. Okay. What else?
The other word that is repeated throughout in number 1, number 5 is applied, is that idea of speaking and listening. What is implied in 6?
5 and 6, right? Yeah.
1, 5, and 6.
Yep.
Okay, so speaking and listening. Like as its own thing, not speaking.
No, I think together, speaking.
Just checking.
Writing.
Well, I hope so, right? Especially since it's our graduate outcomes.
The only other strand that isn't explicitly up there, but it's in a 7, right, is language, in both number 7 and in number 1.
And I'm going to propose that those both be subsumed under numbers 1 and 2 and number 4.
So language? What did you say? I'm sorry.
I don't propose that as a distinct one because I believe that it can easily be yes.
I think we need to have a discussion on that. I think not everybody's clear on that.
I'm sorry. On language?
Yeah, about absorbing it in writing. I just want to hear what other people feel about not having language separate.
Well, yeah, and
I know there's a difference of opinions of what people.
No, I'm with you. My question was, but I wasn't gonna ask it, but now I will. As I kind of mentioned yesterday, we've been working on in my district on word study, so that we're looking at how words, how letters form words and how they function in text and how we use them in writing. So like they go 2 places, and our problem was created when we tried to figure out where to put it on the report card. Does it go under reading? Does it go under writing?
Right.
And it became we didn't know what to do. It was a struggle. We were like, well, because it goes in both. We need the words in reading and we need the words in writing, and the spelling and language use there, but then we have to be able to use it in reading. So anyway, so I agree that would be a good conversation to have. I think they should be. I don't like them as standalone for the reasons I said yesterday, which is I feel like then they're taught in isolation, but I don't know how to. I think we'd have to clearly embed them in reading and clearly embed them in writing.
And I think we can do that. My opposition to having distinct language standards that focus particularly exclusively on the conventions of language and even on the other surface structure traits such as sentence structure, is that then that invites teachers, and I'm speaking with the assumption that one of our main goals is to provide a document that will be advisory to teachers about what to emphasize in their instruction. If that's the case, I personally am not in favor of having a strand that invites teachers to focus on worksheets that have students distinguish between parallelism and dangling modifiers and misplaced modifiers and illogical comparisons and blah, blah, blah. I think that needs to be embedded in the instruction in writing, and that that should be part of the writing strength.
Okay, additional discussion on that one?
The language and the vocabulary can be built into reading fiction and nonfiction. It can be built into writing, and it can also be built into speaking and listening.
Parents, what do you guys think?
Yeah. What do you guys?
That's the great advantage we have in our subject is that everything is everything.
Right.
You know?
Everything, that is a great advantage. It's also, it's also a huge struggle.
It
you know?
is, but it also means we don't have to invite people to focus on small, discrete skills. And I'm sorry I interrupted because Lindsay asked a question, so sorry.
I was reading these quick documents.
I'm sorry because as a parent, I just have to ask because I'm just curious. Because when we went to the meeting just now, there was talk amongst the people in the crowd, is a framework, what's different from a framework and a standard? So could you all interpret that for me? Because there was some confusion in the audience that if we develop frameworks, that's for individual districts to develop, is that right?
I'll speak to that. So a standard itself, right, is like a specific learning objective for a kid. And so that standard, if we go with our idea of like a vertical progression for that standard, you'd also see like, what does that standard look like at kindergarten versus like first grade versus 12th grade? The way those standards come together is a framework, right? So like the way they're organized, in this case by strands, would be considered part of a framework, or the fact whether or not they're vertically organized. Frameworks, though, are different. Standards frameworks are different from curriculum. Curriculum is the how do you teach those standards, and that absolutely, by law, in Missouri, right, is local control.
So we feel that so we are commissioned when we develop, the standards are pretty simple, but we're establishing the parameters through the frameworks of how.
No, our job is not to create frameworks. In fact, the bill is very clear, it's very explicit.
So we're just,
It's not to create curriculum, right? I mean,
That's right.
The way we organize, but we are charged with
that's not what
organizing
he
the
just said. I
standards.
don't think, am I misunderstanding? Because help me, because she said we're not doing framework, but you just said we are doing framework. So I just need to understand, because in the meeting we just went to, that's where the confusion for me is. So when we came in, I'm like, wait, I'm so confused. So again, as a parent, I know that you guys do this, but will you please help me understand? Because, you know, you said that it's not, you said that it is, so we need to be clear, I think, in going forward. Are we?
Wait, what said it's not? What is it?
Well, the thing is, here's what I heard this morning from all the different people, was that we are commissioned to develop standards, right?
Correct.
But my question is, that one person brought up, but we're not supposed to be developing frameworks because frameworks are for each individual district to develop, right?
I think this will help. There are standards frameworks and there are curriculum frameworks.
Gotcha.
We are not at all touching curriculum with a 10-foot pole.
Gotcha.
But like, your standards framework could just be, here's 100 standards in no order whatsoever, teach them. Or they could be, here are 10 reading standards, here are 20 writing standards. So that's what we mean by a standards framework. But you're right, I think.
The standards are what you want the students to know.
The standards are what you want.
The curriculum framework is how you're going to teach it to them.
And you know what, yesterday, some of us had this letter from Mike Russ, staff attorney to Senator Dempsey, who also made a clarification about that. Did you get that? No. Okay, well, that might be helpful for parents to have that. If it would be possible.
Well, and I think that a lot of the question is about, this is our state framework for standards.
Right.
And we aren't touching the state framework for standards. So in fact, what we're doing right now is we're looking at it and thinking about, if this is what our framework is for standards, then what should the standards be? So we're talking now in terms of, okay, if this is our framework, this is what the state says in communication arts, ultimately, students should be able to do, right, should know. Then we're looking at them now and saying, okay, so if we were thinking in terms of what we said was good for teachers and for parents, for organizational purposes, let's start with strands. And so, and for me, that was one of the main things that I felt like, even though they had like R2C and R3C and there was reading in there, so the GLEs had that reading and writing and whatever, so we're trying to decide, what should those overarching categories or topics be? And then we'll say, okay, then after that, what should the standards be that go underneath each one of those?
So now let me ask you this, because this was something else brought up, that they said if we all should have this document because it's in the bill. It's the Curriculum Alignment Initiative. I don't even know what that is. Does anybody know what that is? Can you get us copies of that? I think that might be important. What is that?
That means that once you have your standards determined, you have to make sure that the curriculum that you write fits those standards.
But
that
work's done at the local level.
We're not doing that curriculum enough.
Right. We just come up with what should students learn.
That helps me, thank you so much.
So let's go back to that language and putting it within those standards. Let's make sure that we've had lots of discussion. As a parent, I like the idea of writing being part of speaking and listening, having language as part of writing and speaking and listening and reading both text. But other parents?
I just want to read it. Janet had to go, and she left me her notes and thoughts, so she asked if I would share it so that you guys could know what she was feeling. So I'm just speaking now. This is what Janet wanted to say. She said she went through the Massachusetts document, and so that's what these are based on in the Show Me standards. So she said she would like to make sure that it's known that we have reading, and then under reading we have fiction and writing, and then speaking and listening. And then she's got cognitive clusters. Right. She has reading, writing, speaking and listening. Under reading, she broke it down into fiction and non. Under fiction, she wrote understanding, analyzing, connections, language and vocabulary. Under nonfiction, understanding, analyzing, making connections, language and vocab. So it's the same. She's got the exact same thing for fiction and non. Under writing, she has standard English, language and vocabulary again, informational writing, narrative writing, persuasive / argumentative writing, and literary analysis. Under speaking and listening, she has standard English, and then again, language and vocabulary. She has presentations, discussions, formal and informal, listening and comprehension and attending. So
she put language in every strand.
It goes through every strand. So I'll hold on to this, and as we move forward, anytime this would apply,
She's got some ideas for strands, and then let's have some clusters.
Yeah, and like I said, she
together.
took it from Show Me Standards in Massachusetts, so whenever it comes up, I may say, hey, I'm speaking for Janet.
Thank you.
So is there anyone who has an argument against, or a claim against the idea that the language conventions and the surface structure aspects of writing should be separated out into a distinct thing? I haven't heard anybody who's proposing that.
So it has in the past been separated out, right?
In the Common Core standards it was, and I'm proposing that we not do that.
And we kind of talked about
So
it.
are you saying that you're just saying you want it in every single thing?
It inherently is in every single thing, because when you speak, if you say, I saw the man whom was there, whom is incorrect in that context. So you use it in speaking, you use it in reading, you use it in writing.
And I like the, I'm sorry.
No.
You go.
I want to hear what you like.
Well, I just like that for me, when I was working with some teachers on developing curriculum a long time ago using GLEs, we were having difficulty, or they specifically were having difficulty, because I was working with teachers that I hadn't worked with before elementary, making connections between all of them. I would like to be able to lay it out so that it's like very obvious that in speaking, these are the kind of language things that you would do. And in writing, these are the kind of language things you would do, so that connection's already made for us. If I have to go to look for it and to make that connection on my own, I feel like that's just one more step, and it makes it difficult. And then language, I think, had two things happen. One is it's not done well in speaking then, because it's kind of buried. Another thing that happens is that it either becomes de-emphasized or overemphasized, because I either go there and teach it because it's concrete and easy to teach, or I de-emphasize it because it wasn't at the forefront and I'm working on everything else. So I feel like if we can weave it, at least it's like, okay, when I teach writing, I teach these. When I teach speaking, I teach these.
And
I feel like that's helpful to the teacher. That's just
I
me.
do too, and Maridella, I think it would be a good idea to put that into the guiding principles. Are we in agreement that we're going to do guiding principles?
I don't think we've said we haven't voted on it.
We kind of talked about them yesterday.
Well, we did talk about that. We
On our
talked about
list.
making it parent friendly and friendly for teachers who aren't going to take the time to go
They're on
into
there.
the.
We put it on our structural piece. We want to do that.
Because if we put that in the guiding principles, and I really would like to make an issue out of that, because I think what typically happens is teachers grab these and they go straight to the narrative or straight to the guiding principles and they go, okay, click. And then if they really want to get into it, say, deeply, then they're going to flip back. But if we say right at the onset that these pieces need to be embedded in your writing, in your reading, in your speaking, then they're going to know.
Well, and I think, I don't know, I'm not going to speak for everybody here, but it feels like the feeling is that we believe that those things go together. So if that's the case, and we put it in there that way, then I would think that would be one of our guiding principles, is that we believe that language is something that we do in everything, reading, writing, and speaking.
Well, I think the integration of that is important as well. If the students are doing it in practice, it makes more sense and it's more relevant. And it means more than if you're just handed a worksheet.
Right.
It never goes into theory and practice.
That transfer is difficult.
And if we are thinking about the tests that students take, because tests seem to be quite an issue a few minutes ago, the test that virtually everybody takes, unless he or she is planning not to go to college, and we want to encourage our students, if they are interested in college, I don't think we need to encourage all of them tell all of them that they won't succeed in life without college, because that flat isn't true. But as far as students who want to attend college, they have to take the ACT. And that's the way the ACT is tested. There, as all of us here know, there are 5 passages in the English test. They have in the conventions errors, sentence structure errors, errors in essay organization, what to include and not include, those types of things where all naturally occur in writing essays, revising essays, and working at that level of revision at the deep structure level, and then revision at the surface structure level, and then the conventions final. So it's all there, and it's what's done, it's the way it's tested on those high stakes tests. So that's another reason to put it this way.
Well, even the ones not taking the ACT or either taking the ASVAB or getting a NCRC, which is the National Career Readiness Certificate, they're all doing that. It's all, there's no certain section where it says.
It's not a worksheet.
No, it's not a worksheet. They're prompts, they're correcting business writing and technical writing. So it's all embedded in there as well.
Okay, so, did you ask me anything?
No,
okay. What I wonder, so we're good? Are we doing consensus on language gets embedded? Okay, my original thought was we try that and see how it goes, and if it's like a mess, then we go, okay, that didn't work, but hopefully it will. My question is, do you want reading broken out into the 2 different types as strands, or do you want reading to be reading? Do you know what I'm saying? And then clusters become reading, nonfiction, reading, literary.
We had it as 2 separate ones in our Show Me standards, which doesn't mean that we don't have to do everything that was in those. But as I recall in the conversations about this, which I grant were a long time ago, there were a number of people who were concerned that teachers would feel as though they had to focus exclusively on one type of text or another, because we as English teachers, our purview is literary text. And at the same time, those of us who worked on this were well aware that, and this is no offense to social studies, science, or any other teachers, but we know for a fact, and I have heard it repeatedly said to me by teachers in those disciplines, you are the person who teaches students to read. I am not trained to do that. I will not do that. I refuse to do that. I will give them historical facts. I will tell them the significance of those facts. However, it is not my job to teach them to read history. Okay? Now, the Common Core standards don't agree with that, but we're kind of done with those. So, what I'm saying is, for that reason, if no other, we definitely need to keep these as 2 distinct strands, because we need to help our students read nonfiction texts, which is not to say social studies and science teachers are not obligated to do that, but we all know the facts about them. So we need to help our students read those 2 distinct kinds of texts.
And you could argue the same is true for writing, right? There are 3 different modes of writing that we want our kids to do, or 2 if you want. argumentative and informative together. So I'm just.
Well, that was why I asked, because I feel like we split up reading, but we clumped writing. So that was the only reason I was asking. If we're thinking about strands, and what I was trying to do is clarify: are we talking about strands here with those two, or are we talking about something that's going to be maybe more, pared down into like whatever we said. We said cluster or something. We had all sorts of words for them. So
well, actually, to identify the way if we are going to use the Common Communication Arts Standards now as our sort of baseline, it actually says that the writing is formal versus informal, and I don't think that's going to get it for us.
The distinction you were talking, I think it's extremely important distinction you were talking about writing, or about reading literary texts versus reading informational texts. I think it's equally as important in writing, right? We want to teach our students to write in literary fashions, and we want to teach them to write in more technical, informative fashions.
So we can at some point specify, rather than purpose, formally versus informally. Are you suggesting we should list specific modes such as narrative, informational, expository, /expository, and argumentative?
Potentially, I see a disconnect in the way we're organizing it.
I like that. In the Show Me Standards, it talks about writing formally reports, narratives, essays, and informally such as outlines, notes, and we probably ought to put in their text messages.
Okay, well then
Are we talking rhetorical modes or are we talking purposes?
But I guess what we could do, as you're designing them, right, is you could have like the same standard applied to what does this look like when reading a literary text? What does this look like when reading a nonfiction text? And the same is with writing, right? How do you write an effective introduction in a literary piece of composition? How do you write an effective introduction in a more expositional or argumentative way? So we could write the standards in such a way that they could go across both, if we have them as separate strands. I don't know. Am I making any sense?
Well, I appreciate Nancy just said something over here about, is our focus on purpose in writing, or is our focus on just the classical modes that go back to James Canadian, these guys? I think that our focus should be on some really basic, overarching types of writing. Yes, narrative. There's the audience and purpose for a narrative. And then narratives could be embedded and are embedded in other types of writing. So we got narrative, informational, expository, argumentative.
I'm fading in and out. I'm sorry. I have this headache. It's really, it's encroaching on the thinking. Okay. You're talking about when we take writing into something like a cluster, right? How we cluster it. And I think that sounds good. I think also one of the things that I think maybe Lindsay mentioned before, I have it in my notes somewhere, is that there's a clear lack of what to do with informational writing, or not informational writing, informal writing, like, journals or notes or any of those kinds of things. And I think it would be helpful to have something on that. Just, I know that that's a constant argument in my district about who's responsible for when. And then also, when I do those things, and they're not specified anywhere, I don't feel like I'm hitting what I'm supposed to be hitting. I feel like I'm stepping outside of.
Yeah, I hesitate putting those actually in a standard because I would hate to see teachers want to do a unit on blogging or outlines.
No, right. Yeah.
So instead, perhaps it needs to be in the glossary. When we...
Or part of the metacognitive
right, like
skills,
what does informal writing mean?
Well,
right.
Yeah.
So in our strands or in our standards, if we have something saying that students want to be able to do this type of writing, formal and informal, and then in the narrative and or glossary, we give those EGs.
Right. And to me, informal writing is something that transcends content areas. It's not just, that's not an English skill so much as it's a life skill.
To like us.
Right.
Or maybe you don't. I don't know. But you do.
I like my social studies, but I work with them too.
Okay.
We integrate everything.
So I'm wondering where we're landing with the reading then, because we're talking about writing as a strand, as this overarching strand. We're not talking about writing narrative as a strand, writing expository information as a strand. So does that like for the, I'm trying to think of like continuity, and I really took this as a long discussion over something that's really pretty simple. So, you know, does it mean that we should be reading, or does it mean it should be reading nonfiction and fiction, and then we just move on?
If I'm understanding what's going on, the reason to separate it is because of our audience. Right. Right.
Okay.
Teachers.
I'm good with that.
We
I
might
just wanted to
say
check.
reading is reading, but if we're talking about our audience of parents and teachers,
sure,
we need to articulate that they are separate and equally important.
Okay. So my question is, do we have 3 strands? 4 strands. I'm sorry, 4 strands.
Yeah.
Are we? Do we have any more to add to that, or do we have 4?
I say we have 4 until we try to include that language and then we figure out.
That was kind of my opinion.
Okay, I move that we begin with these 4 strands.
Okay.
Second.
Who was that?
Maridella,
Thank you.
Nancy, seconded. Okay, so motion to begin work using these 4 strands. All in favor?
Can we add later?
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah. With the caveat that if we can't, if it doesn't work, we have to fix it. Yeah. Yeah.
We can add
I
later.
think with the unanimous, I'm sorry, I need to make sure for the notes section. Is that, so now?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you, Heather, are you voting?
I said yes.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure it was
So
unanimous
it's
or not.
unanimous.
So, okay, thank you. Okay, so my question for you now is, I have meal tickets here. Yeah. She just asked me to do something to earn them. I said yes. Show us your cartwheel or something like that. I want to talk about when you want to break for lunch so that we can think about what we're going to do between now and then.
Sure.
It's 5, well, that's a little tiny fast, but it's around 11-ish. We know from experience that it gets very busy down there, probably right before noon. So what time would you like to break? You want to break at 11:30? Yeah, they're open now.
Are they open now? I almost wonder.
They're open all day.
Well, I almost wonder if this is a natural break. Well, establish what we want to do in the afternoon, but then break.
That's why I wanted to ask now. So what you're wanting to do. So establish what we're going to do when we come back, and then break for lunch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is
All right.
there anybody else that has to leave after lunch?
Earlier than 3, you mean? Yeah, that's a good question. If everybody's ready.
It doesn't matter to your work, but just so you know, I'm leaving at 2. We have a Tiger football game this evening. Not Mizzou, sorry. And it's an hour north of where I go, but Dana will make sure. I'll finish the note, share with her everything.
Thank you. All right.
All right, we talked about yesterday, remind me, but I thought we said we would identify clusters.
Yes.
Okay.
And I said clusters, categories, subtitles, whatever, because there was lots of words being thrown around. So for the sake of just getting it started, let's talk about it. Let's just use the word cluster, and if you want to change that word later, I would love it if you change that word later, that's fine. So after lunch, we want to come back and try to kind of identify, okay, so when we talk about reading literary text, what kinds of things go under there? So how would we cluster items together when we think about that? So does that sound, I'm thinking the way that would go is, and you tell me what you think, I'm thinking the way that would go is we come back in, let's brainstorm maybe a couple minutes independently, write down what I think that would go under there. Again, that's how I function a little bit, and I know that there are other people who do, so I'm trying to make sure I'm mindful of that. And then we chart that, and then we go to nonfiction and do that one. What do you think?
And I wonder, and whatever you guys want to do, but do we want to try to lay out all of the clusters right now, or do we want to actually just pick one strand and try to flesh that out in detail this afternoon? Am I making any sense?
I like to pick one, and I have a hard time going back and forth from speaking and listening and writing. I want to focus on
And I guess what
literary text or non.
Oh, that's what I meant.
But I mean, I guess by fleshing that out in detail, I meant, do we want to then actually look at standards within that one strand and finish a strand before moving on to another
That
strand
might
at
help
all?
us figure out how we want to organize moving on.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Okay, so the idea would be that we would come back in, let's start with literary text, because that's probably the easiest thing to start with. And then think about, okay, what would be how would we cluster standards together in there, and then what do those standards look like? Right. Okay.
And once we get that worked out, everything else can follow the same.
That sounds great. Okay, is there consensus on that? I really don't want to take a vote on that unless we absolutely have to. Get consensus on that?
Good job, team.
Okay, so I have meal tickets. So, how long for lunch, folks?
An hour and 15.
I really don't want to take too long because we
Are you
lost
going to
so
order
much.
chicken tenders again?
Don't you worry about what I'm doing.
Because that's what screwed it up.
Yeah, but that was because we went really late that day.
How about 11:45?
And I might just order.
11:45.
11:45.
We can shoot that.
And we're gonna beat the rush. There's not gonna be anybody down
Well,
there.
before we leave, we have two gentlemen that just came in that if we need things that are clarified, Senator Emery and Lieutenant Governor Peter Kinder, if anybody needed anything clarified of what we were talking about earlier.
I have no jurisdiction in this. This is an autonomous group. I have no jurisdiction. And my only right to be here is that I'm part of the public. I'm happy to try to answer any questions. I am very encouraged by what I'm seeing. This is an ultimately very profound operation that you are all engaged in. I doubt if I work on anything while I'm in the state senate that is more important than this. And I can't tell by listening to the discussion who represents who here, which is really encouraging. It really is. I appreciate all of your commitment to this and wish you the very best as you continue forward. And if you have any questions at all for me, I'd be happy to try to answer them. But otherwise, I have enjoyed sitting here and kind of getting engaged a little bit with the gravity of what you're doing and the significance of it to the future of Missouri. So thanks for letting me sit in, and I may visit again, but this has just been a real encouragement to me to watch you work.
Senator Emery, thank you for coming so much. Thanks for taking time out of your day to be here.
I'm way short, so I need to figure out who I've not given one to.
Don't you just pay for lunches that they don't have cards for?
Me? I thought that's why you were here. No, I just chart things. That's what
How many do you need? Carrie.
Let's see. Okay, so I just need. Okay, who did I give? That's why I need. Who did not get one? Because I was like, whoa, I don't have a lot. Okay, I have 3 here for other people who aren't here, so I'll give out 3. So then I 1, 2, 3, 4 more.
You might just cross out your name and put the right one on there. Several points.
Jenna left, so
record
so
that they have.
you're Jenna, and you're Karen,
Awesome.
and you're Nancy.
I've been Nancy several days actually.
So we need 4 more.
So who do we need? Who do we need?
Well, the one I gave out here.
And you can have mine.
Well, I think they want to know where they messed up.
I've never gotten a ticket like with my.
Nick's never had.
I've never had one of these.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, okay. I'm like, as I'm looking through, I'm thinking, I'm gonna give out tickets. Casey,
But you can
Elizabeth.
get me another one, and I'll get on mine. That's fine.
Right.
Just cross my name out.
And
That'll move you along.
I think I won, I didn't get one, so.
You're welcome. Do we have some more blank ones even? Well, no, there were. If we just gave you one, would you raise your hand? If we had to give you a ticket, if you did not have one?
You got one without your name on it.
Regardless of whether you have one now, if you don't have a ticket with your name on it, if you weren't given one, would you raise your hand so we can?
Here, Ann, we got one too.
I gave Ann one.
Can I say one more thing before you all dismiss?
Absolutely, so please don't leave.
Actually, two. One is, I saw some confusion when I said I can't tell who works for who, and what I meant by that is, right now, we're all working for the kids, and that, to me, is important. I think Lieutenant Governor Kinder might have wanted to address the group, if you got just a minute, I don't know whether.
Well, I just came over to audit the course, and not to speak, but since you said I could, I'd just like to
I
add.
have no authority here, but nobody objected.
I'm puzzled at the decision among many members to not attend the plenary session this morning. And could I see a show of hands, those of you who were discouraged from attending? One guy raised his hand.
I was just frustrated that it was held during a work meeting. You know, I mean, we came with an agenda of what we
Does
wanted
that
to
mean
do.
if it were held at a different time, you wouldn't object to attending? Would you attend?
Potentially, yeah.
I would have been more likely to attend if it wasn't during our work.
Is that true for others?
And
It's
especially
my
since
understanding
it
that
was
some.
billed that it was gonna take a half an hour and people were actually gone almost 2 hours.
It's my understanding that some people receive calls from administrators not to attend.
Oh, no.
From school administrators?
Yes.
Oh.
And I confess that until I was in the meeting, I didn't even realize that there were work groups meeting concurrently. I don't know why that plan was put together. I apologize for that. Because this is where you need to be when you're.
No, I can shed some light on that. A feeling was, at least in the House handler of the bill, the guy who authored the bill, Kurt Barr, believed that the session, before you dispersed into individual work groups, should have begun with the plenary session. So they were behind, in which you get a charge from the author of the bill, who simply explains what he was meaning to do and explains the process. It's not an attempt at indoctrination. It was an open and candid attempt to lay out your charge and nothing more. And when that was not followed by Desi, and you began in individual work groups, an attempt was made to have a plenary session that you would all attend. And so it was done hastily on the fly between, I think, Tuesday and today, and so they picked 9 a.m., and I understand that conflicted with your ordinary individual work groups. But that's how that happened.
Was there also another session that certain people were invited to attend before our first?
I don't know. There's all kinds of charges like that flying around, along with Desi, the charge that I don't know whether it's true or not, but in that category, the allegation is made that Desi provided extensive materials to some members of these working groups and not to others.
Yeah, I was asking if there was a plenary session that some people were invited to before our work began on that Monday.
If there was, I'm not aware of it.
Well, that would have been
I was out of state on Monday, and I could not have inserted myself into
Well, from what I understand, there were some people that were brought into a meeting before we began.
the very first.
I don't know anything about that or who they would have been.
Well, should it come up in the future, when you have work groups like this and you want them all to get together and understand their charge, maybe you want to do that before we have our first meeting.
Yeah, I think that was what was being attempted when starting your
It was being attempted, and Desi short-circuited that by dividing you into individual groups.
We just got back from where we're able to work together, so let's not stir the pot. Can we just go to lunch?
But thank
Let's
you
just
for
go
your
lunch.
work that you
I
are
don't
doing.
need the
Yes,
pressure.
yes indeed.
So
For adjusting to whatever.
doing 30 minutes?
Oh, what did we say? What time we come back?
11:45. You now have 29 minutes.
Just like a lunch, just like school.
23 would be school.
In fact, that's what they are.
20, well, I do get 20 now.
Thank you for coming. I think it's actually, that's a little slow, so, or fast, rather.
Well, but that's what you just.
Are you the only
No, I mean that.
Are you
Well,
the only one you
it was
want?
11:45, so we'll come back. It's fine. I'm just saying, we'll come back by.
Are you the only
He'll
one
get
that
up.
they wouldn't give a name?
I haven't had one
of days.
What's your name?
I have no idea. Well, I went down to the this morning. I know. Is it pink? It is, because the blue was gone when I was driving on the other side. See how I started it? It was. And I'm trying to think who was sitting down, you were there, who was next to you the first day? Somebody, whoever was down next to you, I think you didn't. Somebody had the blue, and I was like, oh, I guess I can watch it. I thought about waiting for it, but then I thought that was ridiculous.
We went to our meeting, we was right, not all of our groups could make it, they wanted to continue their understanding, which is understandable. We went and, we heard specifically that, copyright regulation would cause closures, and when we brought it up to the group, and they recast their vote, they decided to revote, they voted to go ahead with the Common Core standards. So once they heard that, we thought maybe that's not the best course, and so they were willing to revote. So that really helped. I think that meeting was important to have, and that it was helpful for this group to get some clarity on how to proceed.
Great.
So.
Yeah, well, that was its purpose. I just didn't realize that we were actually going to be in conflict.
Right.
With the work groups.
Well, yeah, I know, and I mean, we break for lunch, so I mean, if you guys want to have another meeting, we may need to have one, if this proceeds. I would just suggest you do it during lunchtime.
Yeah.
And, and then keep it to,
I'm
an organization freak. I would keep it to half an hour, 45 minutes,
and everyone has, you know, a chance to ask.
We almost have to do it during the days that you're meeting,
Right.
because otherwise people have to.
Right. So
Trip.
before the meeting, early, like a 7:30 meeting, after the meeting,
Yeah, I'm fine with early.
or lunchtime, because that way you're not interfering with workflow, which I know our liaison is going to track the way. She's not going to stand for that.
Thanks for that suggestion, you bet. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
I have no idea. I think it's just what I woke up with.
What's that?
I have a headache. I said I woke up with it, so no, it's
I
fine.
may have some Tylenol back in
No,
my
I am
office.
fine. I've got Exciter in my purse. I've already taken some. Thank you for the offer. I appreciate it.
All right, now I've got vitamins and minerals in my desk.
Got to keep well stocked.
That's right, that's right.
Mhm.
Anytime.
Thank you very much.